Chapter 1834. Zhao Tailai was thinking about how to continue tormenting Tang Hai when he suddenly froze. He seemed to have thought of something. The more he thought about it, the more bewildered he became. Tang Hai was not used to Zhao Tailai's sudden silence. He turned his head and looked at Zhao Tailai suspiciously. When he saw Zhao Tailai's expression, he was stunned and asked, "What are you thinking about?" Zhao Tailai came back to his senses and looked at Qin Feiyang. He said, "Young master, I suddenly thought of something." "What is it?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Zhao Tailai said in a deep voice, "I don't know if you noticed, but when Sima Kuan escaped, he said something to King Tianwu." "He said something?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Tang Hai thought carefully, and his eyes trembled slightly. He nodded and said, "Sima Kuan did say something." Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "I didn't pay attention." "What did he say?" "He said, the demon ancestor will come out of seclusion soon. Tell King Tianwu to stop us." Tang Hai said, "That's right. In the current situation, the meaning of soon is different from usual." Zhao Tailai said, "Yes. Normally, soon could mean 10 days to half a month, or half a year to a year. But now, the situation is urgent. He will come out of seclusion soon. I think what Sima Kuan wants to say is definitely not in a day or two." Tang Hai said. "Then what do you think?" Qin Feiyang asked. Tang Hai's eyes flashed. He said, "It could be 2 to 4 hours, or even half an hour." "How is that possible? To fuse with the divine body so quickly, unless there is a time array where he is in seclusion?" Qin Feiyang said. "That's what I don't understand. If there is a time array, the blood Kirin as his former subordinate would know about it." Tang Hai said, "There is another possibility." Zhao Tailai suddenly said, "What possibility?" Qin Feiyang and Tang Hai turned to look at him. Zhao Tailai said, "The blood Kirin is being kept in the dark by Demon Alpha." Both Qin Feiyang and Qin Haodong's eyes trembled. According to the fiend ancestor's cautious personality, it seemed like it was possible. That was because the only people the demon ancestor truly trusted were Sima Kuan and Sima Yuan. People like the Blood Kirin and Flame King were just blades in his hands. If that's the case, then he'll come out earlier. The Blood Kirin might be in danger too. "Young master, quick!" Tang Hai shouted. Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened. Using the Xing character formula, he teleported and disappeared at the end of the sea. Inside the castle, Luo Qingzhu was also talking to Zhang Zhengyi and Yan Wei. "What did you say? Is the Lin Yi outside just a clone?" Zhang Zhengyi and Yan Wei both looked at Luo Qingzhu in disbelief. "Yes. Can you find her original body now?" Luo Qingzhu asked. "Let's try," Zhang Zhengyi said in a low voice and turned off the image crystal. At this moment, the two were still in the space artifact. Zhang Zhengyi put away the image crystal and looked at the cultivation room outside through the image in front of him. There was no one in the cultivation room, and it was dead silent. It can actually condense a flesh and blood clone. This art of indifference is really terrifying. Yan Wei said. "Yeah. We always thought that the Lin Yi we saw here was the real body, but we didn't expect." Zhang Zhengyi was quite angry. It was not easy for Qin Feiyang to be ruthless and kill Lin Yi, but what he killed was just a clone. "What should we do now?" Yan Wei asked. "Flame King is dead. I think there should be no danger in this demon tower. Let's go out and take a look," Zhang Zhengyi said. "Although Flame King is dead, we still can't be careless." Yan Wei said. "You're right." Zhang Zhengyi smiled and immediately took Yan Wei to the cultivation room outside. After searching for a while in the cultivation room, they didn't find anything like a secret door, so they carefully opened the stone door of the cultivation room. Seeing that there was no one in the corridor outside, Zhang Zhengyi whispered, "There are still so many cultivation rooms. Let's look one by one." Yan Wei nodded. At the same time, there was no one outside the demonic palace at this moment. It was quiet. But suddenly, a weak aura quietly spread out. Although this aura was not strong, it was full of a terrifying murderous aura. As time passed, this aura became more obvious and more terrifying. Gradually, everyone in the entire magic city sensed this aura. "This is Lord Demon Ancestor's aura," Everyone looked in the direction of the demonic palace. There was deep awe on each face. Whoosh! Soon, accompanied by a series of air-piercing sounds, 7 figures came from all directions. They broke through the air like lightning and landed in front of the demonic palace. Among these 7 people, there were men and women, old and young. But without exception, the aura they exuded was extremely powerful. They could even be compared with Tang Hai and Zhao Tai. This was enough to show that these 7 people were all warlords. Roar! Just as these 7 people arrived at the demonic palace, in the depths of the mountains outside Magic City, 4 deafening beast roars suddenly sounded. Boom! Following closely, 4 huge beasts rushed out of the mountains, bringing with them a surging ferocious aura, and rushed to the sky above the demonic palace. The aura of these 4 beasts was extremely terrifying, and they were all real divine beasts. Among them, there were 3 Qilin divine beasts. They were Wood Qilin, Earth Qilin, and Gold Qilin. The other divine beast was a huge dragon. Its entire body was as black as ink, and its body was hundreds of feet long with dense scales. What was even more shocking was that it actually had 9 heads. Among the 7, an extremely old man with white hair raised his head to look at the 4 divine beasts and smiled. You guys are here too. What's going on? Didn't you say that it would take 3 days for Lord Demon Ancestor to successfully merge? The 4 divine beasts glanced at the demonic palace and asked the 7 people. We don't know either. But what we can be sure of is that Lord Demon Ancestor is about to come out of seclusion. The white-haired old man shook his head and looked up at the demonic palace. His old eyes were filled with excitement. Boom! The aura gushing out from the demonic palace was getting more and more terrifying. The white-haired old man and the 4 divine beasts all began to retreat, their expressions incomparably respectful. But at the same time, their hearts were filled with a fear that could not be dissipated. This was fear towards the demon ancestor. As the demon ancestor's subordinates, they knew how terrifying the demon ancestor's strength was. Even if the 11 of them joined forces, they would not be able to block a single blow from the demon ancestor. This was the strength of the demon ancestor. Crack! Suddenly, the door of the demonic palace slowly opened. Just as the door opened, an even more terrifying aura roared out. The white-haired old man and the other 6 knelt on the ground in unison. The 4 divine beasts also prostrated in the void. That respectful and devout expression was as if they were worshipping a supreme god. Tap tap. Suddenly, light footsteps could be heard in the demonic palace. The white-haired old man and the 4 divine beasts were stunned. They raised their heads to look at the door of the demonic palace with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. Why were these footsteps so light? When the demon ancestor walked in the past, it was not like this at all. However, there was only the demon ancestor in the demonic palace. It must be the demon ancestor. They knelt on the ground, prostrated in the void, lowered their heads, and looked more and more respectful. The footsteps were getting closer and closer. Gradually, 2 figures walked out of the demonic palace and stood in front of the door. Those were actually 2 women. One was wearing a white long dress, with black hair like a waterfall, and a country-toppling beauty. The other person was wearing a pale golden long dress. Her long hair was also pale golden, like a golden wave, draped behind her. That figure, that face, they could be called peerless. This aura is not right. It's not Lord Demon Ancestor. Sensing the aura of the 2 people, the white-haired old man and the 4 divine beasts looked up and were stunned. Lin Yi? Mermaid Princess. How could it be you? The white-haired old man was surprised. We have been cultivating in seclusion in the demonic palace. Do you have any objections? The one who spoke was the mermaid princess. Her voice was bone-chilling. Her long dress fluttered, and her golden hair danced like a high and mighty queen, looking down at the white-haired old man. I dare not. The white-haired old man hurriedly shook his head. Whether it was Lin Yi or the mermaid princess, they were now the most valued people by the demon ancestor. He dared not offend them. However, he couldn't figure out why the demon ancestor would let these 2 women cultivate in seclusion in the demonic palace. Lin Yi and the mermaid princess glanced at each other, turned around, and stood on both sides of the demonic palace's door. They bowed, and their expressions were extremely respectful, as if they were welcoming the demon ancestor out of seclusion. Boom! The aura in the demonic palace had soared to an extremely terrifying level. The void around the demonic palace was distorting wildly. The sky directly above the demonic palace was covered with dark clouds. Within the dark clouds, there was a shrill howl, like the roar of a ghost. Boom! All of a sudden, a dark light descended from the sky and entered the demonic palace. Immediately afterward, an earth-shattering demonic aura rushed out of the demonic palace like a volcanic eruption. The white-haired old man, the 7 divine beasts, and the 4 divine beasts couldn't help but tremble. Their expressions were full of fear and despair. "Welcome, Master, out of seclusion," Lin Yi and the mermaid princess said respectfully. "Dear." The footsteps sounded again. But this time, the footsteps were no longer light. Instead, they were steady and powerful. And it seemed to contain a magical power. The hearts of the white-haired old man, the 7 divine beasts, and the 4 divine beasts were beating with the footsteps at this moment. The fear in the depths of their hearts was like a tide, drowning them. The footsteps were getting louder and louder. In the end, it was like a clap of thunder, resounding throughout the world. "Welcome, demon ancestor." Everyone in the entire demon capital, including the beasts in the mountains, knelt on the ground. Even Jiang Zhengyi and Yan Wei, who were in the demonic pagoda, heard the footsteps. "What's going on?" Both of them were very surprised. At the same time, Tianbao Pavilion. A woman in red stood in front of a window, looking in the direction of the demonic palace. Her face was full of surprise. "Demon ancestor. Didn't he say it would take 3 days? Why did he come out of seclusion in advance?" "No, I have to inform Jiang Zhengyi quickly and let him tell Fei Yang," the woman in red murmured and immediately took out the image crystal. Genius remembered the address of this site in 1 second. Mobile version of reading website, M. Chapter 1835. The Demonic Palace. A figure walked out of the demonic palace step by step. It was actually a black-robed youth. The youth was about 20 years old. He was about 1.8 meters tall and had a tall figure. His hands were behind his back. His facial features were as sharp as a knife. He wore a long black robe with a demonic dragon embroidered on it. That's right. He was the demonic ancestor who made people tremble in fear. He stood in front of the palace and looked up at the sky. His dark eyes were like 2 bottomless pits with demonic mist rising. His thick black wavy hair danced in the wind. "It's been 10,000 years. I'm finally back. Qin Batian, I really have to thank you. If you hadn't shown mercy back then, I would have died in the hands of Mu Tianyang and Mu Tianjun," the demonic ancestor murmured with a trace of reminiscence in his eyes. But soon, the look in his eyes turned sharp. "But this is also the worst decision you've ever made." The demonic ancestor stepped out and stood in the sky above the demonic palace. His aura surged as he roared, "Today your Qin clan will perish. Welcome, demonic ancestor. Greetings, demonic ancestor." Everyone in the city began to roar. The white-haired elder and the 4 divine beasts looked at the demonic ancestor in the sky with reverence. Heaven observation technique. Activate. The demonic ancestor waved his hand and images appeared in the void in front of him. There was the scene of Sima Yuan being killed. There was the scene of the inner demons transcending tribulation. There was the scene of the Black Demon King self-destructing. There was also the scene of the Tianwu King, the Flame King, the Water Qilin, and the Black Qilin being killed. As expected of the person I have my eyes on. In the end, the demonic ancestor looked at the scene where Qin Fei Yang was and a trace of a smile appeared in his eyes. The heaven observation technique can see through everything. It's indeed extraordinary. The white-haired elder and the others mumbled. The 9-headed dragon laughed sinisterly and said, "Lord demonic ancestor, since you've come out of seclusion, can we start a full-scale war?" "Can't wait," the demonic ancestor said. "Of course. After so many years of silence, it's time for us to strike back. Look, this emperor's bloodline power has already been ignited." The giant dragon cackled, its eyes filled with a bloodthirsty light. The wood Qilin and the other 2 beasts grinned maliciously as well. "It's time to counterattack. But before that, let's find those ants first." The fiend ancestor raised his arm and tapped the air again. The scene in front of him began to change. In less than 3 breaths, a woman in red and 2 middle-aged men appeared on the screen. That was right. These 3 people were Qin Feiyang's mother and Jiang Zhengyi. "It's her." The demon Alpha looked at Qin Feiyong's mother and smiled brightly. He took a step forward and appeared above the Sky Treasure Pavilion. Inside the room, Qin Feiyong's mother and Zhang Zhengyi were talking on the phone. Why are you here? Could it be that he has already found out? When she sensed the demon Alpha's aura, she was shocked. She immediately looked at Zhang Zhengyi and said, "Inform Feiyong immediately." "There's no need to inform Qin Feiyong, because I'll go out and look for him personally later." The demon Alpha appeared in the room. He looked at Qin Feiyong's mother and Zhang Zhengyi's virtual figures and smiled. "You're the demon Alpha?" Yan Wei was surprised. "That's right." The demon Alpha looked at Yan Wei and nodded. "That's impossible. When we were at the miracle, the voice we heard was clearly very old." Yan Wei said. "What does that mean? Could it be that if the voice is old, I should be an old man? But I have to admit that you guys are quite capable to be able to hide in Magic City for so long. Especially you, Lu Qiuyu." The demon Alpha looked at Qin Feiyong's mother and smiled. "So young master's mother is called Lu Qiuyu." Yan Wei mumbled. "How did you know it was me?" Lu Qiuyu was shocked. The art of heaven observation can see through all the false appearances. The demon Alpha said. "The art of heaven observation." Lu Qiuyu's eyes trembled. The demon Alpha said, "It seems that you have heard of this ability." "That's right. I've checked your information. The art of heaven observation is your most powerful ability," Lu Qiuyu said in a deep voice. "Yes. However, I didn't have a physical body in the past and couldn't use the art of heaven observation. Otherwise, do you think you can sneak into Magic City? However, I do admire your perseverance." Since Qin Feiyong was expelled from the imperial capital, he began to investigate my hiding place. It hasn't changed for so many years. To be honest, sometimes I envy Qin Feiyong for having such a mother who loves him so much. But this is also your misfortune. Because soon, you two will have a love-hate relationship. The demon Alpha said. Yan Wei roared. "Bastard, come at me if you have anything. Don't make things difficult for Mistress." It was obvious. The demon Alpha would let Lin Yi use the Eye of Oblivion to erase Lu Qiuyu's memory. "You." The demon Alpha looked up at Yan Wei and smiled. "Don't worry, you can't run away. The demonic tower is not an ordinary stone tower. It is a divine artifact." The demon Alpha's big hand grabbed in the air, and the demonic tower located underground outside the city suddenly rose from the ground, shattered the earth, and flew toward Magic City. Zhang Zhengyi and Tang Hai suddenly turned pale. "Quickly inform Feiyong." Lu Qiuyu shouted anxiously at Zhang Zhengyi and Tang Hai. Back to Qin Feiyong. At this moment, he was about to catch up with the Blood Kirin and Sima Kuan with Tang Hai. In the void tens of thousands of miles ahead. The Blood Kirin and Sima Kuan were fighting wildly. The two superb divine artifacts collided with a deafening noise. The waves below surged and covered the sky. If we kill Sima Kuan, we will have another superb divine artifact. Then, our chances of winning will undoubtedly increase. Zhao Tailai said in a deep voice. "Not bad." Tang Hai nodded. "Feiyong, this is bad. The demon Alpha has come out of seclusion. Your mother, my father, and Yan Wei have all fallen into his hands." It was also at this moment. Luo Qingzhu's voice suddenly sounded in Qin Feiyong's mind. "What did you say?" "Mother is also in Magic City." Qin Feiyong's body shook, and he suddenly stopped in the void. "Yes," Luo Qingzhu said. "Young master, what's wrong?" Zhao Tailai and Tang Hai looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong turned a deaf ear, and his expression was unprecedentedly terrified. Zhao Tailai and Tang Hai looked at each other. Did something happen again? "Why is mother in Magic City?" Qin Feiyong muttered, as if he had lost his soul. "What? Mistress is also in Magic City." Zhao Tailai and Tang Hai's expressions changed when they heard this. Qin Feiyong suddenly roared. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" Obviously, he was asking Luo Qingzhu. Luo Qingzhu said, "I didn't know before. It was my father and Yan Wei who deliberately hid it from us." "What do they want to do?" "Such an important thing, and they actually hid it from me." Qin Feiyong was furious. What's the use of getting angry now? The top priority is to quickly get rid of Sima Kuan and get ready to fight the demon Alpha. As for my father, if he is really controlled by Lin Yi, just kill him, Luo Qingzhu said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled. Jiang Zhengyi was Luo Qingzhu's biological father, but at this moment, she actually asked him to kill him. How much courage did she have to say such a thing? Phew! After taking a deep breath, Qin Feiyong calmed down, and the hesitation in his eyes disappeared. Yes. Even Luo Qingzhu had this awareness. If he still couldn't let it go, how could he face the dead Yan Nanshan and his grandpa who died in his hands? Get ready to fight! Qin Feiyong shouted violently and immediately led Zhao Tailai and Luo Qingzhu to attack Sima Kuan. At the same time, his voice also reached the ancient castle and the Devil's Land. Is it finally going to be a full-scale war? In the medicinal field, Xueqi looked up at the sky and muttered to himself. On the side, the golden divine leopard was also eager to give it a try. Everyone in the ancient castle, whether it was Luo Qingzhu and the other pseudo-gods, or Wang Zicheng and the other combat emperors, they were all filled with a murderous aura. Qin Feiyong. Blood Kirin and Sima Kuan sensed Qin Feiyong's aura. The former was pleasantly surprised, while the latter was panicking. Sima Kuan, your end is here. Blood Kirin laughed wildly as divine power surged. The dragon vein sword was fully unleashed, entangling Sima Kuan frantically. As soon as Qin Feiyong arrived, this person would definitely die. Is that so? Sima Kuan murmured and grinned. You still don't know that the demon Alpha has come out of seclusion. The Wind Moon Pavilion shone with divine light and collided with the dragon vein sword. What? The demon Alpha has come out of seclusion? Blood Kirin's expression changed. That's right. Sima Kuan nodded. Blood Kirin said angrily. Then why do you still look so flustered when you see Qin Feiyong coming? Who in this world wouldn't panic when they see Qin Feiyong? It's an instinctive reaction. Sima Kuan said. Bastard, I'll kill you first. Blood Kirin roared at Sima Kuan with the dragon vein sword. Do you really have the ability? Sima Kuan's face was full of mockery. The Wind Moon Pavilion blocked in front of him. Then let's try. Blood Kirin roared, and the Kirin armor appeared. He actually used his body to crash into the Wind Moon Pavilion. Boom! Blood Kirin spat out a mouthful of blood. But at the same time, the dragon vein sword went around the Wind Moon Pavilion and slashed at Sima Kuan. What? Even the Kirin armor is on you? Sima Kuan's expression changed. He never thought that Qin Feiyong would give these two supreme-grade divine artifacts to the Blood Kirin. The dragon vein sword fell. In the nick of time, Sima Kuan stepped aside, and his left arm was cut off by the dragon vein sword. Blood gushed out. Let's see how you dodge this time. Blood Kirin smiled ferociously. The dragon vein sword spun in the air and slashed at Sima Kuan's waist. This series of fatal attacks was too fast. Sima Kuan didn't seem to have reacted. No! His terrified roar was filled with despair. Die! Blood Kirin stared at Sima Kuan coldly. Die! However, before Blood Kirin finished speaking, the despair on Sima Kuan's face disappeared and was replaced with mockery. You are indeed scary when you go crazy. But you don't have the ability to kill me. Sima Kuan smiled disdainfully and disappeared without a trace. Damn it! Blood Kirin was stunned and then flew into a rage. He had completely forgotten that Sima Kuan was in control of Shanghai now. That meant that no matter how dangerous the situation was, he could hide in Shanghai in an instant. Genius remembered this address in 1 second. Mobile version of reading website. Chapter 1836. When Sima Kuan disappeared, the Wind Moon Pavilion also disappeared. At that moment, Qin Feiyong rushed to the side of the Blood Kirin. His divine will rolled out and instantly locked onto Mo. Boom! Immediately after, Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and an invisible force surged out like a huge wave toward Modu. Qin Feiyong, you want to destroy Modu? The Blood Kirin was shocked. I've already killed Grandpa and Grandpa. There's no need to care about anything else. Qin Feiyong whispered. The Blood Kirin fell silent. It was a good thing to have this awareness, but it could not help but sympathize with Qin Feiyong. How painful was it to kill your family, elders, and subordinates with your own hands? Boom! The invisible force annihilated the void and rushed toward Modu just as Modu was about to be destroyed. Sima Kuan appeared again. And a young man in black appeared with Sima Kuan. The blood Kirin froze in an instant, and its eyes were filled with fear. Zhao Tai and the other two also stared at the young man in black. Although the aura of the young man in black was not strong, they felt a sense of danger that they had never felt before. Could he be the demon ancestor? The young man in black glanced at the blood Kirin and Zhao Tai, then looked at Qin Feiyong. He raised his hand and the invisible force instantly disintegrated. Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank as he looked at the young man in black and said, "You are the demon ancestor?" "Yes." The demon ancestor nodded. As expected. Zhao Tai and the other two were shocked and immediately became alert. The blood Kirin was even more terrified. It had followed the demon ancestor for a long time, so it had seen the demon ancestor's peak strength. It could only be described as terrifying. Even if it used 2 supreme-grade divine artifacts, it did not have any confidence or courage. However, Qin Feiyong's expression was extremely calm as he said, "Your appearance is very different from what I imagined." The demon ancestor was stunned and smiled. "I'm curious. What did you imagine me to look like? Do you think I should be an old man like Yan Wei?" "Yan Wei," Qin Feiyong murmured. He took a deep breath and looked at the demon ancestor. "No more nonsense. Let's fight. Don't be so impatient. Could it be that you don't want to know about your mother's current situation?" The fiend ancestor mocked. "So what if I know? So what if I don't know?" Qin Feiyong said. "He actually didn't go crazy? It seems that they can no longer threaten you. However, being able to watch you kill them with your own hands is also quite enjoyable." The fiend ancestor laughed. "Shut up, will you?" Qin Feiyong lowered his head and said word by word with a gloomy face. "Haha. So your heart isn't calm at all. To be honest, I really like you more and more. I regret that I didn't forcefully snatch you when you were young. Otherwise, you would definitely be the strongest battle general under my command." The fiend ancestor laughed. "Yes. Fortunately, when I was young, I had the castle and Xueqi to protect me. Otherwise, I don't know what I would do now." Qin Feiyong said. The fiend ancestor said playfully, "Then can you tell me how you feel after knowing the truth?" "Feel? You will know later," Qin Feiyong whispered. Sima Kuan looked at Qin Feiyong with a sneer. A black light flashed out from between his eyebrows. It was an ancient castle. Sima Kuan respectfully handed it to the fiend ancestor and said, "My lord, I leave Mo-Du to you." The fiend ancestor waved his hand and Mo-Du disappeared from between his eyebrows. Sima Kuan immediately looked at the blood Kirin and said, "Follow me. Let's continue our unfinished battle." Swoosh. After saying that, he turned around and flew away. The blood Kirin stared at the fiend ancestor and swallowed. He then looked away and looked at Qin Feiyong. "You must defeat the fiend ancestor. Otherwise..." But before the blood Kirin could finish, Qin Feiyong said, "Don't worry. Go and fight. He will die." The blood Kirin looked at Qin Feiyong deeply. Then, he turned around and ran towards Sima Kuan. He shouted, "Sima Kuan, wake up!" Boom! The man and the beast started fighting in an instant. They charged into the distance. They did this to make space for Qin Feiyong and the fiend ancestor to fight. The two of them were too strong. If they didn't stay far away, the shock waves from the battle could kill them. Tang Hai stepped forward and looked at the fiend ancestor without hesitation. He said, "Call out your other minions." I can't help but laugh. Why are there so many stupid people in this world? The fiend ancestor laughed. Tang Hai said, "Maybe we are stupid, but we won't regret it. Even if we die here." "That's right." Zhao Tai nodded. "Ha ha." The fiend ancestor laughed crazily. "I told you to shut up. Didn't you hear me?" Qin Feiyong suddenly shouted. Sword shadows appeared out of nowhere. The sharpness destroyed the sky as they charged toward the fiend ancestor. Guiyuan sword technique. It's just a low-tier godly technique. I don't even want to dodge. The fiend ancestor laughed. The sword shadows kept bombarding the fiend ancestor's body. The terrifying sword chi drowned out all directions. However, the fiend ancestor, who was standing in the middle of the sword chi, was not injured at all. Zhao Tai and Tang Hai's pupils shrank. Was this the fiend ancestor's strength? It was a godly technique, but it couldn't hurt him. Boom! All of a sudden, an astonishing demonic aura surged, and the sword chi vanished in an instant. The fiend ancestor's mouth curled up. Swoosh! A dozen figures immediately appeared out of thin air. It was the white-haired old man and the other 6, as well as the 4 godly beasts. Ha ha! Finally we can fight. The black dragon laughed, but when he saw that it was only Qin Fei Yong and Zhao Tai Lai, he was angry. Why are there only the 3 of you? Is there no one else? This is too boring. The wood Qilin, the other 2 beasts, and the white-haired old man were also disappointed. Wood Qilin, Earth Qilin, Gold Qilin, Giant Dragon. With the Blood Qilin, Water Qilin, and Ink Qilin, we found so many godly beasts? At the same time, looking at the 4 godly beasts, Zhao Tai Lai and Tang Hai were shocked. Qin Fei Yong looked at them one by one. He was also shocked. Although he already knew about the fiend ancestor's background, the Blood Qilin didn't say that the godly beasts around the fiend ancestor were all Qilins. Wait. Qin Fei Yong's gaze fell on the dragon again. 9 heads. Why were they exactly the same as the dragon pattern on the sky demon flag? Could that be the demon dragon? The fiend ancestor suddenly said, Demon dragon, you stay. The others and the godly beasts stay away from me. Whoosh! The white-haired old man, the wood Qilin, and the other 2 beasts immediately flew away. This is boring. There are so many of us, and there are only 2 opponents. There's not enough to go around. Stop complaining. Qin Fei Yong is just a young boy. It's good enough that he has 2 war gods around him. Just think of it as passing the time. The 7 people and the 3 godly beasts yawned and looked sleepy. Some of them looked listless and bored. His disdain towards Zhao Tai Lai and Li Wuyo was fully displayed. This is really infuriating. Zhao Tai Lai roared. He gripped his axe and charged over aggressively. This is really annoying. Tang Hai murmured. His aura was restrained to the extreme in an instant. Then, like a ghost, he swept behind the wood Qilin like lightning and threw a punch. Ah! So fast. The 7 people and the 3 godly beasts were surprised. He is mine. You are not allowed to snatch him. Then, the wood Qilin turned around and threw a claw at Tang Hai's fist. Boom! The man and the beast immediately took a few steps back. You have some strength. The wood Qilin was refreshed and laughed. Don't let me down. Don't worry, I won't let you down. Tang Hai said coldly. Boom! The man and the beast released their aura and charged at each other. At the same time, the Earth Qilin erupted with a terrifying aura and immediately charged at Zhao Tai Lai, afraid that others would beat him to it. Snatching here and there, what do you think we are? Zhao Tai Lai roared, raised his axe and slashed at it. Of course it's a toy. After the Earth Qilin finished speaking, a set of battle armor appeared on its body and collided with the axe. Clang! Zhao Tai Lai was sent flying on the spot, and his arm couldn't help but feel numb. This battle armor. Zhao Tai Lai was shocked. High-grade divine artifact. Understand. The Earth Qilin laughed sinisterly and charged over crazily. Those 2 guys beat us to it. What should we do? The golden Qilin looked helplessly at the wood Qilin and the Earth Qilin, then turned to the white-haired old man and asked. The white-haired old man chuckled and said, Since it's a toy, let them play with it first. The other 6 also crossed their arms with a playful look on their faces. At the same time, seeing that the wood Qilin and the Earth Qilin had already started fighting, the black demonic dragon's eyes were filled with envy. It turned to look at the demon ancestor and asked in confusion, Sir, why do you want me to stay? Of course, there are benefits for you to stay. The demon ancestor smiled. What benefits? The black demonic dragon's eyes lit up. The demon ancestor looked at Qin Fei Yong. Qin Fei Yong frowned and said, It's your former mount, the demonic dragon? No. However, it's also related to that demonic dragon. The demon ancestor said. What's the relationship? Qin Fei Yong frowned. The demon ancestor smiled and said, It's the demonic dragon's child. That's right. Your ancestor killed this emperor's father. This emperor will definitely settle this score with you. When the demon ancestor defeats you, this emperor will swallow you alive. The demonic dragon looked at Qin Fei Yong ferociously and said with a smile. The demon ancestor said, No ambition. You have to defeat him with your own hands and then swallow him alive. Only then will it be interesting. Defeat him with my own hands? The demonic dragon was slightly stunned and looked at the demon ancestor suspiciously. Sir, although I want to do that too, his strength. Don't worry. Soon you will have the same strength as him. The demon ancestor smiled. Really? The demonic dragon was overjoyed. When have I ever lied to you? The demon ancestor said unhappily. The demonic dragon smiled embarrassedly and his fierce eyes were full of expectation. Qin Feiyang glanced at the demon ancestor and the demonic dragon with a trace of suspicion in his eyes. The demonic dragon only had the cultivation of a beginner war god and was not his opponent at all. He believed that the demon ancestor knew this too. But why did the demon ancestor still make such a promise to the demonic dragon? P.S. New Year's Day. Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 1838. Forget it. Don't think about it anymore. Qin Feiyang shook his head. What was the point of thinking so much? As the saying goes, counter soldiers with arms and water with earth. Whatever methods the demon ancestor had, he would take them all. With a wave of his hand, the golden divine leopard and Xueqi appeared. The demon dragon was slightly taken aback. His eyes flashed fiercely as he laughed. I didn't expect you to have 2 war gods by your side. In the distance, the white-haired old man and the golden Qilin also looked at the golden divine leopard and Xueqi in surprise. To be exact, they were looking at Xueqi. The golden divine leopard was a war god-level divine beast. The demon ancestor had already told them when his consciousness returned. However, they knew nothing about Xueqi's situation. The demon ancestor naturally recognized him. Back then, when he was hiding in Zhuge Mingyang's body, he witnessed Qin Feiyang subduing Xueqi with his own eyes. However, in his memory, Xueqi was only a false god. How did he break through to war god so quickly? This surprised him. Before, he activated the heavenly observation technique and did not look at Xueqi. Because in his opinion, Xueqi was just a small character, not worthy of his attention. Qin Feiyang smiled without turning his head. Xueqi, look carefully. Is this the battle you were looking forward to? Xueqi glanced at Zhao Tailai and Tang Hai, then looked at the white-haired old man and the 4 divine beasts, and finally locked onto the demon ancestor. The blood in his body could not help but boil as he nodded. Yes, this is the battle the subordinate has been looking forward to for a long time. Good. Show them what you're capable of right now and shut them up. Qin Feiyang said word by word, his words carrying a shocking sharpness. Yes. Xueqi nodded, looked at the golden divine leopard and shouted, Let's go. Okay. The golden divine leopard laughed and rushed towards the white-haired old man and the others like a golden meteor. It's this emperor's toy. The golden Qilin smiled at the white-haired old man and the others, then rushed towards the golden divine leopard like lightning. Qilin divine beast? This emperor wants to taste the Qilin divine beast's flesh. Facing the Qilin, the golden divine leopard was not afraid at all. Instead, it was full of fighting spirit. The golden Qilin stared blankly for a moment before grinning hideously. Little reptile, it seems like you're courting death. Rumble. By the time the white-haired old man and the others came back to their senses, the golden Qilin and the golden divine leopard had already started fighting. Their faces immediately darkened. The golden Qilin had taken the lead again. Don't worry, you guys won't be idle either. With a loud laugh, Xueqi tore through the air and stopped in front of the white-haired old man. The 7 of them looked at Xueqi strangely. Looking at this person's posture, it seemed like he was going to take on 7 people at once. One had to know. They were all divine gods of battle, while this Xueqi was only a beginner divine god of battle, yet he dared to act so scornfully. Was there something wrong with his head? The demon alpha was surprised by Xueqi's performance. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, You disappoint me. Disappointed? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. That's right. Emperor Hong, Old Qin, and the Lu family's 4th son are all divine gods of battle, but you didn't want them to take the risk and let them stay in the imperial palace and the Lu family. And now, you let Xueqi, someone who just broke through to the divine god of battle, face 7 divine gods of battle alone. Don't you feel ashamed of such selfish behavior? The demon alpha shouted. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and sighed. I won't deny that I did have some selfish motives, but you shouldn't underestimate Xueqi. Good that you admit it. All this time, everyone said that you, Qin Feiyong, are a person who values friendship, but now it seems like it's just a joke. People like Xueqi, Tang Hai, and Zhao Tailai are probably just pawns in your eyes. The ancestral fiend smirked. As for what Qin Feiyong said about not underestimating Xueqi, he didn't take it to heart at all. Xueqi raised his eyebrows and turned to look at the demon alpha. Don't try to drive a wedge between us. Xueqi, there's no need to talk nonsense with him. The young master is good to us. We understand it ourselves. Zhao Tailai shouted. That's true. Xueqi nodded and turned his gaze to Qin Feiyong, muttering, Young master, don't worry, I won't disappoint your expectations of me. Boom. Suddenly, he turned to look at the white-haired old man and the others, his aura erupting like a volcano. You really want to fight 1 against 7? The 7 were stunned. Xueqi glanced at the 7 and said coldly, Do you want to know the real reason why the young master didn't let Emperor Hong and the others come? The white-haired old man and the others frowned. I'll tell you now. Because we don't need them to do anything, we can deal with you all. Xueqi smiled proudly. What? Just the few of you? You're not joking? The 7 were stunned. This person must be crazy. Otherwise, why would he say such stupid words? Shwa! Suddenly, a divine light flashed in front of Xueqi, and a book appeared. And the 7 stared at the book, their eyes full of suspicion. Could it be that this book was the reason why Xueqi was so confident? Demon Ancestor and Demon Dragon also looked at the book with a trace of curiosity in their eyes. What's the situation? However, Qin Feiyong and Xueqi looked at the reaction of Demon Ancestor and the others, and they were a little stunned. This book was different from ordinary books. It was made of an unknown divine iron. The whole body was suffused with a jet-black light. From afar, one could feel a terrifying murderous aura. On the cover of the book, there were 3 bold words written on it. Myriad Beasts Diagram. That's right. This was the artifact that Qin Feiyong obtained from the State Preceptor, the Myriad Beasts Diagram. The Myriad Beasts Diagram had a total of 99 pages. Each page was made of divine iron and as thin as a cicada's wing. The most powerful part of the Myriad Beasts Diagram was that in these 99 pages, one could summon a beast spirit to help the owner in battle. In other words, the Myriad Beasts Diagram could summon a total of 99 beast spirits to fight for the owner. And these beast spirits were all divine beasts beast spirits. For example, Divine Dragon, Fire Phoenix, Qilin, Torch Dragon, Hell Godhound and so on. What was even more terrifying was, these beast spirits were immortal and indestructible. If they were scattered by someone, they could be summoned again the next day. The only way to destroy them was to destroy the Myriad Beasts Diagram. However, it was a pity that the Myriad Beasts Diagram could only be opened by war gods. Therefore, all these years, Qin Feiyong had been keeping it. Just as he broke through the war god realm and rushed to the vacuum zone between the first and second layer, he thought of the Myriad Beasts Diagram, so he took it out and studied it carefully. In the end, he was pleasantly surprised. This Myriad Beasts Diagram was actually an existence comparable to a supreme-grade divine artifact. Moreover, each beast spirit had its own consciousness. It was as if these beast spirits were originally real divine beasts that were sealed alive in the Myriad Beasts Diagram by someone using great magical power. This discovery made him pleasantly surprised. At that time he was thinking, now that he no longer needed the divine artifact, who should he give this terrifying divine artifact to? Zhao Tailai? Tang Hai? Both of them had divine artifacts. Finally, he thought of Xueqi. So, he gave the Myriad Beasts Diagram to Xueqi as a trump card. However, Qin Feiyong had always thought that this Myriad Beasts Diagram was given to the State Preceptor by the Demon Ancestor. Because the State Preceptor's backer was the Demon Ancestor. Who else could it be but the Demon Ancestor? But he never expected that the Demon Ancestor and others would have such a reaction when they saw the Myriad Beasts Diagram at this moment. In other words, this Myriad Beasts Diagram was very likely not given to the State Preceptor by the Demon Ancestor. But if it was not the Demon Ancestor, who else could it be? Who would be willing to give such a terrifying divine artifact to the State Preceptor? Wait, Could it be that the state preceptor found it by chance somewhere? Strange, really strange. Xueqi murmured with a serious expression. Although he didn't understand, now was obviously not the time to let his imagination run wild. This place will become very lively soon. The corner of Xueqi's mouth twitched as he turned to look at Tang Hai. Tang Hai understood and pushed away the wood qilin with a palm. Like Yu Huang, he instantly rushed to the white-haired old man and the others, following closely. He grabbed a woman in black and once again returned to the battlefield with the wood qilin. The wood qilin was stunned. The woman in black also had a dumbfounded look. What was going on? Wait, this person wanted to fight one against two? Courting death. Immediately. Whether it was the woman in black or the wood qilin, they were both furious. This was clearly an attempt to humiliate them. The woman in black raised her hand and slapped towards Tang Hai's lower abdomen. Tang Hai smiled disdainfully, released the woman in black, and instantly retreated. This speed is really infuriating. The woman in black angrily cursed and shouted, "Wood qilin, this person's strength can't be underestimated. Let's just do as he wishes." Okay. But don't kill him so quickly. I want to torture him well and let him know the price of underestimating us. The wood qilin laughed sinisterly. Understood. The woman in black also laughed sinisterly. One man and one beast immediately joined forces and attacked Tang Hai. Tang Hai transmitted his voice. Xueqi 2 war gods is already my limit. The rest is up to you. Leave it to me. Xueqi replied. Then let's begin. Murderous intent flashed in Tang Hai's eyes. He took a step forward and attacked the woman in black and the wood qilin without fear. Sigh. It seems that there is still a gap between me and old Tang. But now is not the time to be discouraged. Seeing Tang Hai fighting one against two, Zhao Tailai was a little envious. But at the same time, it also aroused his competitiveness and fighting spirit. How could he lose to Tang Hai? He held the axe and unleashed a storm of attacks on the earth qilin. In an instant, the earth qilin was suppressed. The woman in black was forcibly dragged away by Tang Hai. In this way, Xueqi's opponents were only the white-haired old man and the others. Have you realized? Xueqi glanced at the 6 people, raised his arm, and pressed towards the 10,000 beasts portrait floating in the void in front of him. The white-haired old man and the others looked at Xueqi and the 10,000 beasts portrait with disdain in their eyes. They did not believe that Xueqi had the strength to fight with 6 war gods. With just a book. Boom. Accompanied by a loud noise, Xueqi pressed his palm on the cover of the 10,000 beasts portrait. Wisps of shocking auras burst out of them, as if peerless beasts were awakening rapidly. Please remember the domain name of this book. Literature Library Mobile Version Website. Chapter 1839. The pupils of the white-haired old man and the other 5 shrank. The disdain on their faces finally disappeared and was replaced by shock. The ferocious aura that rushed out of the myriad beasts diagram gave them a great sense of crisis. Open! Xueqi roared. He waved his hand. With a loud clang, the cover of the myriad beasts diagram opened and rays of dazzling divine light shot out. Following that, the pages of the book that were as thin as a cicada's wings flipped open on their own, making rustling noises. Finally, it stopped on 6 of the pages. On top of these 6 pages, there were 6 qilin mythical beasts. They were the blood qilin, the water qilin, the ink qilin, the wood qilin, the gold qilin, and the earth qilin. Although these 6 qilins were only beast souls, their terrifying ferocious aura was not inferior to the wood qilin and the other 2 beasts fighting Zhao Tailai. What's going on? Feeling the terrifying ferocious aura, the wood qilin fighting Tang Hai, the gold qilin fighting the golden divine leopard, and the earth qilin fighting Zhao Tailai were all shocked. You dare to be distracted? You're courting death. Zhao Tailai roared and chopped the earth qilin with his axe. With a clang, a crack appeared on the earth qilin's armor. Its huge body was blasted away and its divine blood splattered across the sky. The earth qilin was so shocked that it broke out in cold sweat and quickly counterattacked. At the same time, the gold qilin and wood qilin were also attacked by the golden divine leopard and Tang Hai. However, for divine beasts, this injury was nothing. All of you come out! Xueqi shouted. Following his shout, The 6 Qilin beast souls on the page roared and appeared in front of Xueqi in an instant. What? The white-haired old man and the other 5 stared at the myriad beasts diagram in shock. It could summon 6 Qilin divine beasts? This was too unbelievable. No. The white-haired old man frowned and said, "These Qilin divine beasts are not flesh and blood. They are formed by divine power." Formed by divine power? The other 6 were stunned. The white-haired old man sneered. If they are not real Qilins, then there is nothing to worry about. The 6 nodded. Is that so? Xueqi looked at the 6 of them with a mocking expression and shouted, "Destroy them!" However, hearing Xueqi's words, the 6 beast spirits did not move. Instead, they turned to look at Xueqi, their eyes flashing with a fierce light. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Xueqi frowned. "Let me tell you this. Although you are our master now, it is best that you do not speak to us with such a commanding tone." The Blood Kirin beast soul said. "That's right. If you dare to do this again, we'll kill you as well." The other 5 beast spirits spoke as well, and their threats were undisguised. Xueqi's face twitched. What? He can actually speak. However, at this moment, the white-haired old man and the others were all dumbstruck. Even the fiend ancestor was shocked. He could actually speak. How was this possible? Being able to speak meant that the 6 Qilins had their own consciousness. But how could a divine beast formed from divine power have consciousness? Was this a dream? It seemed that this myriad beast diagram was not as simple as they thought. "Do you understand?" The 6 beast spirits glared at Xueqi and shouted. I understand. Xueqi nodded, his face full of helplessness. "That's more like it." The Blood Kirin beast spirit glared at Xueqi, then turned to the white-haired old man and the others and sneered. 6 small fries dare to yell at Little Li? You're courting death. Don't call me Little Li. Xueqi roared in exasperation. There were so many people present. Wasn't this embarrassing? We are stronger than you. What's wrong with calling you Little Li? Do you have a problem with that? The Blood Kirin beast spirit said angrily. The veins on Xueqi's forehead bulged. He suddenly sighed and shook his head. Forget it. After all, you are my support now. As long as you can get rid of them, it's up to you. You are smart to know that we are your support. Brothers, kill them. The Blood Kirin laughed arrogantly. With a cold shout, the other 5 beast spirits immediately followed and attacked the white-haired old man and the others. Boom! In an instant, a chaotic battle had begun. The 6 beast spirits displayed terrifying combat power and completely suppressed the white-haired old man and the others. On the other hand, the white-haired old man and the others looked more and more serious. The strength of these strange beast spirits was far beyond their expectations. At the same time, in the sky above a mountain, Qin Yuan looked at the 10,000 beasts portrait with a surprised expression. Beside him, the snow python's eyes were extremely gloomy. Qin Yuan suddenly retracted his gaze and looked at the snow python. He laughed and said, I didn't expect you to be so generous as to give the 10,000 beasts portrait to Fei Yong. Shut up! The snow python shouted angrily. Then it looked at the 10,000 beasts portrait and said gloomily, You should know that I can't give the 10,000 beasts portrait to Qin Fei Yong. Are you just pretending to admit it? Qin Yuan said. Humph! The snow python snorted. Qin Yuan smiled and said, Then I am curious. Who did you give the 10,000 beasts portrait to? I don't believe that you would give it to the state preceptor. Dong Zhengyang. The snow python gritted its teeth. Dong Zhengyang? Qin Yuan's expression froze. This answer was really unexpected. Why did you give it to Dong Zhengyang? I have seen this child a few times. He doesn't seem to be very outstanding. Qin Yuan was suspicious. What does it have to do with you? Why are you asking so much? The snow python said angrily. I am just curious. Qin Yuan laughed. The snow python glared at Qin Yuan fiercely and looked at the scene in front of it again. It muttered, Really useless. You can't even guard the artifact. Actually, she didn't care much about the 10,000 beasts portrait. After all, she was so powerful. She was just unhappy. This 10,000 beasts portrait, of all people, had to fall into the hands of Qin Fei Yong? Even if it fell into the hands of the demon ancestor, she wouldn't be so angry. Because she was very clear about the power of the 10,000 Beasts portrait. In her eyes, the 10,000 Beasts portrait was nothing. But in the hands of the demon ancestor and Qin Feiyang, it was a divine object that could destroy heaven and earth. It could play a decisive role. Demon Dragon Island. The battle of the gods was unprecedentedly fierce. Whether it was the Blood Kirin, the Golden Divine Leopard, or Zhao Tai, they were all fighting a bloody battle. The horrifying divine might shattered more than half of the demonic Dragon Island. So that's how it is. The demon ancestor observed Xueqi and the 10,000 Beasts portrait for a while. Then, the demon ancestor retracted his gaze and turned to look at Qin Feiyang opposite him. He smiled and said, "If I am not wrong, in each page of the 10,000 Beasts portrait, there is a drop of blood essence of a divine beast sealed. In other words, the 6 beast spirits are actually formed from blood essence." "Good eyesight," Qin Feiyang said. The demon ancestor continued, "However, the 10,000 Beasts portrait also has a fatal weakness." Qin Feiyang's pupils contracted. He saw through the weakness of the 10,000 Beasts portrait so quickly? With Xueqi's current strength, he can only summon 6 beast spirits at most. And although the 6 beast spirits are formed from blood essence, they also need Xueqi's divine power as support. Once Xueqi's divine power is exhausted, the beast spirits will naturally dissipate. So the current Xueqi doesn't dare to fight with others. Because this will speed up the consumption of his divine power. The demon ancestor laughed. The demon ancestor is indeed worthy of being called the demon ancestor. Qin Feiyang praised. "Actually, it's nothing. I only thought of it when I saw Tang Hai. After all, if Xueqi can summon more beast spirits, he definitely won't let Tang Hai fight 1 against 2. The demon ancestor said. "You're right. Summoning 6 beast spirits is Xueqi's current limit." Qin Feiyang nodded. "My lord, since Xueqi doesn't dare to fight with others now, isn't that the same as standing there and being beaten? Why don't you let me kill him?" The demon dragon grinned. "You're too naive. Although Xueqi doesn't dare to fight with others, he won't be stupid enough to stand there and let you kill him. Moreover, Qin Feiyang won't allow you to do so. You should know that his inner demons have yet to appear. His inner demons have already condensed a physical body. It's not that easy to deal with them." The demon ancestor laughed. "You?" Qin Feiyang looked at the demon ancestor in shock. Only Sima Yuan knew about the inner demons condensing a physical body. Sima Yuan had already committed suicide, so how did the demon ancestor know about it so clearly? "You're surprised, right? The heavenly observation technique that I have mastered allows me to see everything that happened within 3 days. The demon ancestor said. Heavenly observation technique. Qin Feiyang was shocked. Although he could only see things that happened within 3 days, it was already terrifying enough. However, the heavenly observation technique is useless in battle, so you don't have to worry too much. Instead, I'm really curious about the myriad beasts diagram. Where did you get it? Is it a miracle? The demon ancestor said. This matter is a bit ridiculous. Originally, I thought that the myriad beasts diagram was yours. Qin Feiyang said. Why would you think so? The demon ancestor was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, because I got the myriad beasts diagram from the state preceptor. What? The demon ancestor was stunned. How could it be the state preceptor? It seems that you don't know anything about this matter, which also means that the state preceptor isn't very loyal to you. Qin Feiyang sneered. That damn old thing, how dare he hide such an important artifact from me? The demon ancestor was furious. Although the state preceptor was selfish, he actually didn't know that the myriad beasts diagram would be so terrifying. Because he was just a pseudo-god at that time and couldn't open it. If he knew that it had such power, I think he definitely wouldn't be willing to give it to me. Qin Feiyang sneered. No matter what, this old thing deserves to die. However, it's a pity to kill him now, so I'll keep his dog life first. Now, let's solve the problem between us. The demon ancestor's eyes turned cold, and a cold aura suddenly roared out from his body. The world suddenly fell into a cold winter. There were even heavy snowflakes floating in the sky. This is... The white-haired old man and the other sensed the aura and turned to look at the demon ancestor. Their expressions changed drastically, and they roared, "Quickly move the battlefield!" The 7 of them, the 3 beasts, including Sima Kuen in the distance, all turned around and used teleportation to rush further away. They looked as if they had seen the devil, and their faces were full of fear. Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Pinnacle Mobile Version Reading Website. Chapter 1840. What's going on? Seeing Sima Kuen and the others running for their lives, the 6 beast spirits, the golden leopard, the blood Kirin, and Zhao Tai Lai were all shocked. When they came back to their senses, they all turned their heads and looked at the demon ancestor. "Why do I have a bad feeling?" The 6 beast spirits muttered. Xueqi, the blood Kirin, and the golden leopard's eyelids kept twitching. It was as if something bad was about to happen. Qin Feiyong said, "You don't need to interfere here. Go finish your battle." "Yes." Xueqi and the others nodded. Xueqi. But just as Xueqi turned around, the demon ancestor's voice suddenly rang out. Xueqi was stunned and looked at the demon ancestor suspiciously. "Why did you suddenly call me? Don't tell me you like me and want me to follow you? Then I advise you to stop daydreaming." The demon ancestor chuckled. "Your actions have made me a little angry. So you don't like me. You want to kill me." Xueqi suddenly understood and smiled. "Then I want to ask, what did I do to make you angry? How many pages are there in the Million Beasts portrait?" The demon ancestor did not answer. 99 pages. Xueqi said. 99 pages. That means the blood essence of 99 divine beasts is sealed in the Million Beasts portrait. There are so many divine beasts to choose from. Why did you summon the 6 Kirin beast spirits? The demon ancestor asked. Xueqi raised his eyebrows. Strange. This is my freedom. I can summon whoever I want. What can you do about it? Yes. I can't do anything about it. But your provocative actions will consign you to eternal damnation. The demon ancestor looked at Xueqi and smiled. I didn't expect you to see through me. That's right. I am provoking you. I deliberately summoned the same beast spirits as the blood Kirins. I want you to see that the gods of war and divine beasts you have painstakingly raised are not as good as the beast spirits I summon. Xueqi looked at the demon ancestor mockingly. Very good. The demon ancestor's smile was exceptionally bright. You want to kill me? We'll talk about it after you defeat the young master. Goodbye. Xueqi smiled coldly and left with the 6 beast spirits. Zhao Tai Lai shook his head and smiled. Why didn't I notice this guy's courage in the Black Tortoise world? This should be his personality. It's just that back in the Black Tortoise realm, he didn't have a backer like the young master, so he didn't dare to be so arrogant. Tang Hai said. Interesting. Zhao Tai Lai laughed loudly and said, We can't fall behind. Let's go. The gold leopard, Tang Hai, and the blood Kirin looked at each other. Then, they teleported and chased after Sima Kuen and the others. Qin Feiyong looked at Zhao Tai Lai and the others. He looked at Demon Alpha and said, Compared to your subordinates, how are my friends? We won't know until the final results are out. It's useless to be arrogant now. The fiend ancestor shook his head. Really? Qin Feiyong chuckled, but he was secretly on guard. Because the aura roaring out from Demon Alpha's body made even him panic. Mo Long looked at Demon Alpha and shivered. Sir, I'd better go help with Qilin and the others. Useless. Demon Alpha snorted. Boom. The cold aura that emerged from his body became more and more terrifying. Goose feathers covered the sky and earth. In just a short while, Demon Dragon Island below was already covered in ice and snow. The cold air was bone-chilling. Even the void was beginning to freeze. What exactly is this thing that's emitting cold air? The more Qin Feiyong looked, the more alarmed he became. Swoosh. Suddenly, a sparkling light shot out from between Demon Alpha's eyebrows. Qin Feiyong looked over and a trace of surprise appeared on his face. It was actually a snowflake. A snowflake was the size of a palm. It was sparkling and translucent, with cold mist surging. It floated in the void, releasing a dazzling divine light. The aura it released made Qin Feiyong tremble uncontrollably. However, what was a bit of a killjoy was that the snowflake emitted a pungent stench. How could it be a snowflake? Qin Feiyong muttered. Wait a minute. Mu Tianyang seemed to have said that Demon Alpha had a heaven-defying artifact. This heaven-defying artifact was a snowflake. Could it be? Thinking of this, Qin Feiyong's pupils suddenly shrank. Could this be that heaven-defying artifact? Kid, I'll help you this time. But if you still can't defeat Qin Feiyong, then you're not worthy of me following you. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the snowflake. Demon Alpha laughed. Don't worry, Qin Feiyong will die. It better be like this. The cold voice sounded again. Following closely, the snowflake flashed in the void and appeared in front of Qin Feiyong in the next instant. So fast, Qin Feiyong's expression changed. He used the walkward technique and retreated. A mere ant dares to try and escape from me? The snowflake's words were full of disdain. The next moment, that endless cold current rushed towards Qin Feiyong. In just an instant, Qin Feiyong was wrapped in layers of ice. The bone-piercing cold air not only froze his bloodline power, but even his divine soul was being swallowed by the cold air. So scary. Qin Feiyong's hair stood on end as his divine power surged out from his Qi ocean. But, without waiting for the divine power to surge out of Qi Sea, Qin Feiyong's Qi Sea was also frozen. Qi Sea was frozen, so the divine power was naturally frozen as well. At this moment, his heart was in a state of panic. Was this Demon Alpha's heaven-defying artifact? Without the castle and Xueqi, how could he fight? But right at this critical moment, strands of jet-black light suddenly gushed out from the center of Qin Feiyong's forehead, and it surged into his limbs and bones before expelling the cold energy within Qin Feiyong's body. Castle! Qin Feiyong was overjoyed. But at the same time, his mind was full of doubts. Wasn't the castle already sealed? Why could it still help him? To be able to forcibly tear a crack in the seal of the sky-swallowing beast, this lord really admires you. But with your current state, you can't stop this lord at all. Snowflake sneered, and a wisp of the power of law emerged. A crack immediately appeared in the void. Following closely, Snowflake swept into the crack and disappeared. This is... Qin Feiyong's heart suddenly surged. This kind of power of law was actually the same as Xueqi, space-time travel. Wait. Snowflake activated the power of law. Where did it travel to? Could it be the castle? It didn't come to the castle. The voice of the inner demons rang in Qin Feiyong's mind. Crack. Qin Feiyong's aura was fully released, and the ice on his body shattered. Of course. This was because of the castle's help. If he relied on his own ability, it was impossible to shatter the ice on his body. After all, Snowflake was a heaven-defying artifact. It didn't go to the castle? Qin Feiyong frowned, raised his head and looked at the demon ancestor opposite him, and shouted, "What exactly are you making it do?" The demon ancestor laughed. "Don't worry, you will know soon. It seems that in this battle, even with the help of the inner demons, there may not be a chance of winning." Qin Feiyong's face was somewhat gloomy. Snowflake's strength was too terrifying, and it was estimated that only the castle could contend against it. But Snowflake also said just now that the castle only tore a crack in the seal. In other words, right now, the ancient castle was still sealed. So it was unrealistic to count on the castle. Sky-swallowing beast. Was this the name of the golden small beast? Just how strong was this beast? At the same time, in a pitch-black place where one couldn't even see one's fingers, a crack suddenly appeared in the void, and snow-white frost surged out from the crack. Following closely, Snowflake appeared out of thin air. Snowflake released his perception and rushed in all directions. "I didn't expect that there would be such a large space hidden in your body." A moment later, Snowflake's surprised voice sounded. "You shouldn't have helped the demon ancestor, and you shouldn't have come here." Another faintly discernible voice came from the darkness. "Trying to scare this lord? You are just a newly refined artifact. How can you compare with this lord?" "This lord's purpose is very simple. Hand over the heart of the demon dragon and the eye of the demon dragon, and this lord will leave immediately. Otherwise, this lord will completely destroy this place." Snowflake said. For a time, this place was silent. "Do you really have the confidence to destroy this place? If you have the confidence, why don't you just do it?" However, Things like the heart of the demon dragon don't mean much to Qin Fei Yang, so there's no harm in giving it to you. After a long time, the ethereal voice sounded again in the darkness. Swish. Following closely. In front of Snowflake, several things appeared. It was the heart of the demon dragon, the eye of the demon dragon, the claw of the demon dragon, and so on. At least you know what's good for you. Snowflake sneered, and the power of the law emerged, and the void once again cracked open a crack. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't go against Qin Fei Yang. The ethereal voice sounded, echoing in the void for a long time. Snowflake was silent for a while and sneered, just a mere Qin Fei Yang, what is he? This lord also gives you a piece of advice. Don't become a stone in our way, because this is seeking your own destruction. After saying that, Snowflake took the heart of the demon dragon and disappeared into the crack. Who is the one seeking his own destruction, do you really know? The ethereal voice murmured. Soon, the voice faded away, and this place was restored to silence. The void in front of the demon ancestor suddenly cracked open a crack. Snowflake took the heart of the demon dragon and other things, and rushed out like lightning. And Qin Fei Yang was stunned. Snowflake took action against him for these things? No. These things, weren't they taken away by the ancient castle? But why did they appear here? Wait. Snowflake could snatch these things now, which meant that these things had always been with him. Hidden somewhere in his body? That was definitely impossible. He had also searched the ancient castle, but there was nothing. Then there was only one explanation. Inside the ancient castle, there was another unknown space. And this hidden space would most likely only appear after he unlocked the third layer of seal. At the same time, looking at the heart of the demon dragon and the eye of the demon dragon, the demon ancestor's expression was quite sad, and he muttered, "Old friend, we finally meet." Father? The demon dragon at the side also had tears in his eyes, and there was a pain that couldn't be resolved. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Top Point mobile version reading website. Chapter 1841. Swoosh. Suddenly, Snowflake attacked again. An invisible force swept across the sky and enveloped Qin Fei Yang. Do you really think I'm a lamb waiting to be slaughtered? Qin Fei Yang snorted coldly. But just as he was about to counterattack, a black crystal flew out of his body. Magic crystal? Qin Fei Yang's expression froze. After the magic crystal appeared, the mighty force retreated with the magic crystal. Why is it snatching the magic crystal? Qin Fei Yang was surprised. The magic crystal was with Ren Duxing. In the end, when Ren Duxing was killed, it fell into his hands. The demon ancestor grabbed the demon crystal and instantly erased the blood contract inside. He raised his head and looked at Qin Fei Yang. He smiled and said, "You still don't know, right? The original owner of this demon crystal is actually me." What? Qin Fei Yang was stunned. The magic crystal was used by the ancestor to seal Mu Tianyang. Shouldn't it be the ancestors? Moreover, old Qin also said that the magic crystal belonged to the ancestor. Back then, I was killed by Qin Batian, Mu Tianyang, and Qin Batian. The magic crystal fell into the hands of Qin Batian. Later, Qin Batian used the magic crystal to seal Mu Tianyang's remnant soul. So much so that later generations thought that the magic crystal was Qin Batian's divine item. What a joke! The demon ancestor sneered. So that's how it is. Qin Fei Yang murmured. The demon ancestor said, "In addition, I'll tell you a secret. The magic crystal is a divine artifact above the supreme grade." What? Above the supreme grade? Qin Fei Yang was surprised. He naturally knew the power of the magic crystal. According to his judgment, it was at most a middle-grade divine artifact. It couldn't even compare to a high-grade divine artifact. How could it surpass the supreme-grade divine artifact? I know it's hard for you to believe it now. But when you see it with your own eyes later, I guarantee that you will be shocked. The demon ancestor sneered and turned to look at Snowflake. He cupped his hands and said, "Thank you." Snowflake said, "I hope that this lord can see an exciting battle next." Definitely. The demon ancestor was full of confidence. Qin Fei Yang's heart skipped a beat. From Snowflake's tone, it didn't seem to intend to interfere. If that was the case, The outcome of this battle would definitely be on his side. Swish. As expected. Hearing Ancestor Fiend's words, the snowflake instantly entered Ancestor Fiend's glabella and disappeared. Very good. Qin Feiyong muttered. Mo Long looked at Demon Ancestor and asked, My lord, are you going to revive father? Your father, the Demon Ancestor sighed deeply and said, I cannot revive it. Why? The demon's is his. If you want to revive it, you need at least a divine soul. But back then, in the process of fighting with Qin Batian and Mu Tianyang, his soul turned into ashes. Not even a wisp of remnant soul was left. The Demon Ancestor said. The demon dragon god's face stiffened. In other words, father is completely dead and can't be revived? Yes. The Demon Ancestor nodded. The demon dragon closed his eyes in pain. 2 drops of tears fell from the corner of his eyes. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and stared at Qin Feiyong. He roared, Qin Feiyong, blood for blood. Today you must die. I'll be waiting. Qin Feiyong said indifferently. Calm down. Although your father can't be revived, I will use another method to let him exist in this world. The Demon Ancestor said. What method? The demon dragon's spirit rose. Qin Feiyong also looked at the Demon Ancestor suspiciously. Fuse. The Demon Ancestor said word by word. His eyes shone. Immediately after, with a wave of his hand, the demon dragon's heart, claw, eye, and so on all disappeared into the demon dragon's body. Roar. The demon dragon suddenly roared towards the sky, as if in pain. Around his body, black fog surged. A strange power began to permeate the area. This power could plunder the vitality and life force of living beings. As Qin Feiyong sensed this strange power, the memories that had been sealed away in his mind began to surface. Black Dragon Glacier. Demonic Island. Demon Dragon Mountain Range. It was from these 3 places that he obtained these monsters. He remembered that at that time, these demons all had the ability to plunder the vitality of living beings. For example, Yan Wei almost died in the Black Dragon Glacier. And now, the Demon Ancestor had fused these demons with the demon dragon's body. That demon dragon would very likely obtain his father's inheritance. At that time, the demon dragon's strength would definitely skyrocket. Father, this child will definitely avenge you. Give me your power. The demon dragon roared. The next moment, his demonic aura suddenly soared. Breakthrough? Qin Feiyong's pupils constricted. With a loud bang, the divine dragon seal appeared out of nowhere and instantly turned into a towering mountain. With a monstrous divine aura, it charged towards the demon dragon. Why are you in such a hurry? The demon ancestor took a step forward and stood in front of the demon dragon. His hands quickly formed seals, and a black square seal appeared. The square seal was as big as a mountain, and the bottom was engraved with a demon dragon pattern. Billowing demonic fog covered the sky and earth. Demon dragon seal, go! The demon ancestor pointed in the air, and the black square seal cut through the sky and collided with the divine dragon seal. With a loud bang, the 2 square seals exploded in the air at the same time. A destructive aura crazily surged in all directions. The void collapsed and the earth sank. It was like the scene of the end of the world, shocking the world. Perfect divine technique. Qin Feiyong's face sank. No. This demon dragon seal wasn't a perfect divine technique, but a high-grade one. Because the demon ancestor's cultivation was stronger than his. The demon ancestor was a low-level war god. At this moment, he didn't activate the soaring dragon technique and was only a beginner war god. The perfect divine dragon technique is indeed extraordinary. The demon ancestor smiled. His hands formed seals. Roar. Accompanied by a dragon roar, a giant demon dragon soared into the sky and roared. Waves of terrifying sound waves rushed towards Qin Feiyong like a tide. This is the divine dragon roar? Qin Feiyong was surprised. No. It's the demon dragon roar. The demon ancestor said. Demon dragon roar. Qin Feiyong murmured. With a thought, a purple gold divine dragon appeared, and its roar shook the sky. This was the divine dragon roar. 2 waves of sound waves collided and annihilated the sky. It was a tie again. Interesting. The 3rd style, Lord of all Demons. The demon ancestor shouted. As his voice fell, he raised his hand and pointed to the sky. Waves of demonic aura rushed into the sky. Boom! The next moment, a huge statue of a deity appeared in the world. The statue was pitch black with demonic fog rolling. It held a stone pagoda in its hand and stepped on a demonic dragon. It was as if a peerless demon had descended. Heaven and earth trembled. Lord of all demons? Qin Feiyong was surprised. This style was actually the same as the third style of the divine dragon technique. Show me your lord of all demons, the demon ancestor said. All right. With a thought from Qin Feiyong, the emperor statue appeared. Stepping on a purple gold divine dragon and holding a broken sword, the emperor's aura shook heaven and earth. Boom! The two statues broke through the clouds and fought each other. This piece of land was instantly drowned by the terrifying demonic and emperor's aura. Crack! In the end, the two statues, accompanied by a loud sound, shattered at the same time in the void. The demon ancestor looked at the collapsed emperor statue and murmured, "How nostalgic!" There was actually a hint of a smile on his cold face. Qin Feiyong frowned. Why would there be such a smile on the demon ancestor's face? When the two statues completely dissipated, the demon ancestor still did not retract his gaze. He looked at the sky and seemed to be lost in his memories. I wonder if you have thought of a question at this moment? What question? Qin Feiyong frowned. Why are my demonic dragon technique, your ancestor's divine dragon technique, and the Lu family's ancestor's fire phoenix technique so similar? The demon ancestor said. Qin Feiyong was stunned. The demon ancestor was silent for a long time and sighed faintly. Because the three of us were once very good friends. No, it should be said that we were as close as brothers. As close as brothers. Qin Feiyong was stunned. That's right. Qin Batian, Lu Zhengyang and me. At that time, the three of us were all talented peerless geniuses. Although we came from different places, we were like-minded. We cultivated together and created divine techniques together. The divine dragon technique, fire phoenix technique, and demonic dragon technique were the results of our hard work. The demon ancestor said. There's actually such a thing? Qin Feiyong was in extreme disbelief. Moreover, we all had the same wish. That wish was to overthrow the Tianyang Empire and establish a peaceful order. The demon ancestor said. Qin Feiyong was dumbfounded. He never thought that this terrifying demon in front of him was actually a friend of his ancestor. Are you sure you're not lying to me? Qin Feiyong asked. Do I need to lie to you about this kind of thing? If you don't believe me, you can go and ask Mu Tianyang. Because at that time, the Tianyang Empire was still ruling this continent. Qin Batian, Lu Zhengyang, and I were still subjects of the Tianyang Empire. The demon ancestor said. These things were too unexpected. Qin Feiyong found it hard to digest for a while. The two of them had completely different ideals. How could they become friends? Since you and my ancestor want to overthrow the Tianyang Empire and establish a peaceful order, why did you become enemies? Qin Feiyong asked. It's very simple. Our ideas and ideals are different. What I want is a peaceful world that I can control. The demon ancestor said. A peaceful world that you can control? Qin Feiyong frowned and said in surprise. Could it be that at that time, you wanted to use the blood soul technique to control the people of the entire continent? That's right. Because this is the only way to create a world that is completely free of slaughter and strife. But Qin Batian and Lu Zhengyang want a free and peaceful world. They want the people of the world to have freedom. Tell me, isn't this child's play? Everyone has ambitions and desires. If they are not controlled, how can there be peace? Since there is no peace, what's the point of overthrowing the Tianyang Empire? The demon ancestor said angrily. If I had to choose, I would support my ancestor and the others. Because in this world, no one has the right to deprive others of their freedom. If everyone is controlled by you, what's the difference between everyone and a puppet? Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and said. So, you are also naive. Look at the current Great Qin Empire. Is it really peaceful? From the civil and military officials to the common people, which one of them isn't using their strength to bully the weak? In my opinion, it is no different from the Tianyang Empire. The demon ancestor shouted. You are right. The great Qin Empire is not truly peaceful. But this is the law of the world. Where there are people, there will be strife. Qin Feiyang said. Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Mobile version of reading website. Chapter 1842. What a ridiculous rule. If they were willing to listen to me back then, this continent would have long been peaceful. What's even more ridiculous is that Qin Batian actually helped Mu Tianyang to deal with me. The demon ancestor clenched his fists, his eyes filled with hatred. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, Lu family's ancestor didn't participate in the war back then? He didn't. Because Lu Zhangyang really couldn't do anything to me, so he chose not to help either side. But he's really an idiot. What friendship? What brotherhood? It'll only become a burden. The demon ancestor mocked. Shut up. He can't do anything to you because he cherishes you as a friend. Don't you think it's too much to say that about him? Qin Feiyang roared. He really couldn't stand this sentence. Although it's a little too much, what I said is also the truth. He's just an idiot. As for your ancestor, he also couldn't do anything to me at first. The demon ancestor said. Qin Feiyang said in disgust, I really feel bad for my ancestor and Lu Zhangyang. They actually acknowledged a heartless brother like you. Heartless? Haha. Then let me tell you, what exactly is heartless? Mu Tianyang originally had the intention to get rid of me. Because in his opinion, my ambition is greater than Qin Batian and Lu Zhangyang. Naturally, the threat to him is also greater. A long time ago, he privately looked for Qin Batian and Lu Zhangyang, saying that I've already gone mad and advised them to join forces to get rid of me. However, Qin Batian and Lu Zhangyang rejected him every time and repeatedly advised me to stop. Perhaps in their eyes, I'm really their good brother. The demon ancestor laughed. It's not a possibility, it's a fact. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. If back then, his ancestor and Lu Zhangyang didn't treat the demon ancestor as a brother, how could they let the demon ancestor do whatever he wanted? Yeah. However, everything I've done is for the sake of this continent, for the sake of peace. How could I possibly stop? Since it's an ideal, then it must be carried out to the end. After that, the three of us fell out completely. I entered the Sea of Reincarnation and came to Devil Dragon Island. I started to nurture my own force. Back then, there were many experts in the Tianyang Empire. In the end, 1/10 of them became my captives. Of course, there are also some who sincerely follow me. My forces are growing bigger and bigger, and I'm becoming more and more unbridled. Many of the Heavenly Sun Empire's experts have died at my hands. At that time, I felt that my ideal world of peace was approaching. However, even though my power grew from the start to the end, I have never acted against Qin Batian and Lu Zhangyang, because at that time I cared about them too. But one day, Qin Batian actually listened to Mu Tianyang's instigation and joined forces to deal with me. How can I not be angry? Now, tell me again, who is the heartless one here? The demon ancestor roared angrily. His entire body was filled with a terrifying murderous aura, and his eyes were filled with resentment. Qin Feiyang fell silent. He never thought that there would be such a grudge between his ancestor and the demon ancestor. After a while, Qin Feiyang said, I believe that if you hadn't gone overboard, my ancestor would never have acted against you. Yes, I admit that I did go overboard at that time. I almost caused a great deal of suffering. But what does that have to do with him? Can't he be like Lu Zhangyang and remain neutral? Why did he help Mu Tianyang? We are as close as brothers. He helped Mu Tianyang to kill me. What does that mean? At that time, I realized that the so-called brotherhood, the so-called friendship, was just bullshit. I was extremely disappointed in him. But I have to admit that Qin Batian is very strong. In the end, not only did he suppress me, but he also sealed my divine body. However, he is still as merciful as ever. Mu Tianyang told you that Snowflake escaped with a trace of my remnant soul. But in fact, it was Qin Batian who deliberately let my remnant soul go. The demon ancestor said. If that's the case, you should thank my ancestor instead of blaming him. Qin Feiyang said. Qin Batian probably did the same. He probably wanted me to thank him, but how is that possible? If it weren't for him, would I have fallen to this point? I only have hatred for him. So, I swear that I will destroy the great Qin Empire that he built single-handedly and destroy his descendants in the great Qin Empire. I will make the bloodline of the Qin disappear from this world. The demon ancestor roared, his hair flying in anger. The resentment in his heart could no longer be resolved. My ancestor attacked you. It's understandable that you hate us, but what about the Lu family? Lu Zhengyang has always been neutral. Why do you still want to destroy the Lu family now? Qin Feiyang was also furious. This is why he's so stupid. Does he think that by remaining neutral, I won't hate him? Wrong. Do you know where he was when Qin Batian and Mu Tianyang came to kill me? He was watching not far away. I asked him for help in despair, hoping that he would help me on account of our brotherhood. However, he turned a blind eye and didn't help. How can I not hate him? The demon ancestor roared. On one side is my ancestor, and on the other is you. How can he help? He can only choose to remain silent. Don't you understand this? Qin Feiyang said angrily. So what if I understand? Can it erase the fact that he betrayed me? The demon ancestor roared. A terrifying demonic aura emerged and pounced towards Qin Feiyang. He didn't betray you, nor did he betray anyone in the world. It's you who is too selfish. You only think about yourself and never think about the situation of others. Qin Feiyang roared. Activating the soaring dragon art, his cultivation instantly rose to the level of a low-level war god. Following closely, divine aura rolled out like a torrent, roaring in the sky and colliding with the demon ancestor's demonic aura. A deafening rumble suddenly rang out in this place. Yes! They were the ones who forced me to become what I am today. So, I naturally have to thank them. The demon ancestor laughed. His expression became incomparably ferocious, and his demonic aura surged crazily. You are already incurable. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That rolling divine aura was not inferior to the demon ancestor's demonic aura. The void within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles had been shattered. The earth trembled violently. Mountains and rivers continued to shatter and turn into dust. Incurable? Wrong. The person who is truly incurable is your ancestor. Do you know why he still wants to enter the divine sight again? The demon ancestor said. You know? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course I know. He went to find Lu Zhengyang. The demon ancestor said. Find Lu Zhengyang? Qin Feiyang frowned. That's right. Back then, Qin Batian and Mu Tianyang joined forces to suppress me. Lu Zhengyang seemed to be tired of all this. After leaving behind the inheritance in the Lu family, he disappeared without a trace. Later, when the divine sight opened, he mixed in with the crowd and quietly entered the divine sight. He never came back. After Qin Batian established the great Qin Empire, he learned of this matter and led his subordinates into the divine sight again. Since then, Qin Batian never came back. Say, if your ancestor didn't go to the divine sight again, would he die? Now you know who the incurable person is, don't you? The demon ancestor laughed. I see. Qin Feiyang mumbled. The ancestor entered the divine sight again to find Lu Zhengyang. However, this time, not only did he not find Lu Zhengyang, but he also disappeared. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, looked up at the demon ancestor, and said, I still believe that my ancestor is not dead. Stop dreaming. In a place like the divine sight, let alone Qin Batian, even if all of us go in, we will only die. The demon ancestor sneered. No. You should know that there is another place besides the third level of the divine sight. Qin Feiyang said. What place? The demon ancestor raised his eyebrows. Ancient world. Qin Feiyang said. Ancient world. The demon ancestor lowered his head and pondered. His anger gradually calmed down. After a while, the demon ancestor looked up at Qin Feiyang and said, Actually, I knew about the existence of the ancient world a long time ago. A long time ago? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. When your ancestor entered the divine sight again, he went in from here. Before he went in, he found my remnant soul and told me to go to the third level of the divine sight. He also mentioned the ancient world. The demon ancestor said. So, my ancestor came to find you. But thinking about it, it makes sense. After all, the second entrance to the divine site is in the Dead Sea. Qin Feiyang said. The demon ancestor was surprised. You have found the altar? Qin Feiyang nodded. So what? With the guardian of the divine site, do you dare to go in? The demon ancestor sneered. You don't have to worry about that. And I believe that there is a piece of news that is more important to you. Qin Feiyang said. What news? The demon ancestor asked. Qin Feiyang said, when I was in the ancient realm, I heard news about my ancestor. What? The demon ancestor's body trembled. Qin Batian was not dead? How was that possible? No. If Qin Batian was not dead, given Qin Feiyang's character, he would definitely bring him back. You are too naive. You used such a despicable method to distract me. The demon ancestor sneered. Qin Feiyang said, It's true. Do you know why I stepped into the false god realm so quickly? The demon ancestor had a trace of doubt in his eyes. He really wanted to know the answer to this question. There is something called the soul stone in the ancient world. It has the effect of condensing divine sense. And one soul stone can condense 100 strands of divine sense. Qin Feiyang said. What? There is actually such a thing. The demon ancestor was shocked. Although I don't know much about the ancient world and have only seen 3 people in the ancient world, their cultivation can be said to be shocking. One of them is young. Let's not talk about the cultivation of the other 2. One is a low-level war god, and the other is a high-level war god. My soul stone was given to me by them. Qin Feiyang said. High-level war god. The demon ancestor's eyes trembled. Genius remembered the address of this website in 1 second. Mobile version of reading website. Chapter 1843. He had only met 3 people, and one was a lesser tier war god and the other was a greater tier war god. If he looked at the entire ancient world, how many experts would there be? If Qin Feiyang didn't lie to him, then this ancient world must be a new continent that had never been heard of before. The demon ancestor said, Why did they give you soul stones? That's the main point. They told me that the ancestor was kind to them. Qin Feiyang said. Qin Batian was kind to them. The demon ancestor murmured. There was a very important message in this. Qin Batian was kind to them, so Qin Batian must have appeared in the ancient world. Unfortunately, I didn't find out the whereabouts of the ancestor, but I'm sure that he's still alive. And his strength has far surpassed yours and mine. Qin Feiyang said. Don't compare me with you. If my divine body wasn't sealed by Qin Batian, you can't compare to my current strength. The demon ancestor said angrily. The resentment in his heart rose again. Qin Feiyang said, saying this won't change the fact that our strength is on par. On par? Are you sure? Whether Qin Batian is still alive or not, you and Great Qin are destined to be destroyed today. The demon ancestor chuckled. Without any movement, the demon dragon seal appeared. Qin Feiyang's eyes widened. Without forming a seal, the demon dragon seal appeared. Could it be that the demon dragon's secret art was not a high-grade divine art, but a perfect divine art? Now, I'll let you see my true strength. The demon ancestor waved his hand, and the demon dragon seal shook the sky and aggressively blasted towards Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang hurriedly took out the divine dragon seal and attacked. Boom! The moment the 2 divine seals met, the divine dragon seal was instantly shattered. It was completely destroyed. Following that, the demon dragon seal blasted onto Qin Feiyang's body. Bang! Qin Feiyang was blasted into the ground below. His body was covered with cuts and bruises, dripping with blood. How is this possible? This power has actually become so terrifying. Qin Feiyang rushed out from the ground and stood in the void. He looked at the demon ancestor in shock. He had originally guessed that the true grade of the demonic dragon art might be a perfect divine art. However, at this moment, the power displayed by the demonic dragon seal had already surpassed that of a perfect deity formula. Because he had already activated the soaring dragon art, his cultivation level was the same as the devil ancestors. If the demonic dragon art was truly a perfect divine art, then the divine dragon seal would definitely be able to resist it. However, before this, what was displayed was a crushing force. Didn't this mean that the demonic dragon art was stronger than the divine dragon art? Although my divine body is sealed, I have already condensed a complete divine soul. That's why I've been studying the demonic dragon art all these years. The current demonic dragon art has not only surpassed the high-grade deity art, it has also surpassed the perfect grade deity art. Haha. Now, do you still think that our strength is equal? The demon ancestor laughed proudly. It has really surpassed the perfect deity formula. Qin Feiyang's eyes were gloomy. The demon ancestor's strength was simply beyond imagination. When I first fought with you, I was just playing with you. Don't take it too seriously. The demon ancestor sneered and turned to look at the demonic dragon. At this moment, the demonic dragon's aura had already soared to the boundary of a beginner war god. Rumble! All of a sudden, a dull loud sound exploded from its body, and its aura soared once again. It was actually a beginner war god. Not bad, it has been perfectly fused. The demon ancestor nodded, turned to look at Qin Feiyang, and sneered, "Defeat the demonic dragon first, otherwise you are not qualified to be my opponent." After saying that, the demon ancestor took a step back, crossed his arms, and his face was full of playfulness. Boom! Almost at the same time as the demon ancestor retreated, a terrifying aura rushed out from the demonic dragon's body. This aura was like a tide, drowning in all directions. The qi and blood in Qin Feiyang's body suddenly began to flow uncontrollably. This is father's ability? Plundering aura and vitality. Haha, this emperor likes it. The demonic dragon laughed wildly, stared at Qin Feiyang, and roared, "This emperor has perfectly fused with father's ability, your time of death has come." His body expanded with the wind. In just an instant, the demonic dragon's body was more than 10,000 feet tall, and his demonic aura was monstrous. Swish! Immediately after, the demonic dragon instantly appeared above Qin Feiyang's head. That thick dragon tail smashed a large area of the sky and slapped towards Qin Feiyang's head. But Qin Feiyang did not pay attention to it at all. He looked at Ancestor Fiend and said, "Aren't you too confident in it?" In the past, he was indeed very afraid of the demonic dragon's ability. For example, at the Black Dragon Glacier and the Devil's Island, if it weren't for the castle in Xueqi, he would have been sucked dry. But today was different from the past. Now that his strength was no longer weaker than the demonic dragon, this ability to plunder qi and blood was no longer a threat to him. "Let's wait and see," the demon ancestor said. Qin Feiyang looked up at the demonic dragon and said expressionlessly, "I'm not interested in playing with you right now, so please scram a bit." Arrogant. The demonic dragon was furious. "The gap between you and me can't be made up with just a few demonic items like the demonic dragon's heart." Qin Feiyang raised his arm and directly grabbed the dragon tail. His 5 fingers were like iron hooks, easily crushing the dragon scales and sinking into the flesh. What? The demonic dragon was shocked. How could the power of this body be so strong? After being tempered by the heavenly tribulation, I can even crush a divine artifact, let alone your body of flesh and blood. Qin Feiyang waved fiercely. The demonic dragon howled and smashed into the ground below like a meteor. "Not bad, not bad." The demon ancestor clapped his hands and laughed. "Make your move." Qin Feiyang looked at the demon ancestor with an aggressive gaze. As for the demonic dragon, he couldn't be bothered to care about it. The demon ancestor said, "As I said, only after defeating the demonic dragon will you be qualified for me to make a move." Qin Feiyang said, "The demonic dragon is already Qin Feiyang." However, before Qin Feiyang finished, the demonic dragon's roar came from below. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and looked down, only to see the demonic dragon rushing out from the ground aggressively. The shattered dragon scales and wounds from before had already healed. "How is this possible?" Qin Feiyang muttered. The demonic dragon's ability isn't as simple as just plundering blood. It can transform the blood it plundered into life energy to repair its own injuries. In other words, no matter how serious its injuries are, as long as it is still plundering blood, it can instantly recover. The demon ancestor said, "I see. Then I will not let it have the chance to recover." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent. the divine dragon seal appeared and turned into a towering mountain, suppressing the demonic dragon. The void collapsed crazily. That terrifying aura even shattered the ground into pieces. Perfect divine technique. Divine dragon seal. Powerful, powerful. I wonder how this divine dragon seal tastes. The demonic dragon laughed again and again. What do you mean? Qin Feiyong frowned. The demon ancestor laughed. You will know what it means soon. Boom. Before the demon ancestor's voice faded, an even more terrifying aura rushed out from the demonic dragon's body. It was as if a peerless demonic creature was awakening in its body. Immediately after, a monstrous demonic mist emerged from the demonic dragon's body like a waterfall, rushing up to the sky. The next moment, a bloody mouth appeared in the void. It was thousands of feet big, covering the sky and the sun, exuding an aura that made one despair. What is this? Qin Feiyong was surprised. This is its battle soul, Devil's Mouth. The demon ancestor said. Devil's Mouth? Qin Feiyong frowned. Swallow. At this moment, the demonic dragon roared, and the bloody mouth trembled as it pounced towards the divine dragon seal. In the end, under Qin Feiyong's horrified gaze, the divine dragon seal was swallowed by the devil's mouth. Swallowing the divine technique? Qin Feiyong murmured, his heart in disbelief. Isn't this the same as the white-eyed wolf's innate ability? Wait a minute. It can't be forever deprived, right? He hurriedly looked into his sea of consciousness, and when he saw the divine dragon seal's form still floating beside his soul, he breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the form was still there, it would not lose the divine dragon seal. Similarly, it was proof. There was still a gap between the demonic dragon and the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf's innate ability was to deprive the battle soul, and it was a permanent deprivation. The demonic dragon's innate ability was simply to swallow the divine technique. However, it was undeniable that this was also a very terrifying innate ability. The demonic dragon looked at Qin Feiyong and laughed. The battle soul told this emperor that this divine dragon seal tastes good, and I want to try it again. Interesting. Qin Feiyong muttered. Can it swallow the battle soul? Why don't you give it a try? The demonic dragon said mockingly. All right. Qin Feiyong's body shook. The 9-leaf fire lotus appeared, and the area immediately turned into a sea of fire. Boom! As Qin Feiyong waved his arm, the fire lotus shot toward the demonic dragon with endless waves of fire like a fire dragon. This is a battle soul. The fiend ancestor's pupils shrank. Back in the sealed land, the ice dragon went on a rampage. Qin Feiyong was in danger as well. At that time, it was the 9-leaf fire lotus and the crimson sword soul that saved Qin Feiyong. In other words, this battle soul was an existence that could fight against the ice dragon. However, at this moment, he was slightly puzzled. This was because the 9-leaf fire lotus's aura was much weaker than before. It could be said that the difference was like heaven and earth. He did not understand. Why was such a weak war soul able to display such terrifying power in the land of inheritance? Even Qin Feiyong was puzzled, let alone the fiend ancestor. The 9-leaf fire lotus and the crimson sword soul were mysterious existences. Then, he looked at the demonic dragon. When it saw Qin Feiyong summoning the 9-leaf fire lotus, its gaze was solemn. Clearly, the fiend ancestor had told it what happened in the sealed land. However, at this moment, under its observation, the 9-leaf fire lotus's might was not as terrifying as the fiend ancestor's. Seems like that's all there is to it. It did not think too much about it. It thought the fiend ancestor was exaggerating. After all, it did not see it with its own eyes. Soon after, it waved its dragon claw and lunged at the 9-leaf fire lotus. Boom! The instant the two battle souls collided, the bloody mouth devoured the 9-leaf fire lotus. It can devour battle souls as well? Qin Feiyong was surprised. However, as long as it was not completely taken away like the white-eyed wolf, there was nothing to worry about. Explode! He muttered. The 9-leaf fire lotus that was devoured immediately exploded in the bloody mouth. A destructive aura surged out immediately. The fiend dragon's battle soul was torn to shreds on the spot. What? Battle souls can self-destruct? The fiend dragon was stunned. He was in disbelief. Genius memorized this website's address in a second. Mobile version website, M. Chapter 1844. Although I rarely summon the nine-leaf fire lotus, I don't think it's so obscure. The nine-leaf fire lotus's innate power is self-destruction. Qin Feiyang said. Realization dawned on the demon dragon. Although Qin Feiyang had 3 war souls, he rarely summoned the nine-leaf fire lotus and the crimson sword soul ever since he came to the imperial capital. This was because the 2 war souls were not of much help to him back then. He knew that the nine-leaf fire lotus and the crimson sword soul were only slightly stronger than ordinary war souls. Hence, he usually summoned the purple gold dragon soul. Even Qin Feiyang did not care about it, let alone the demon dragon. Therefore, the demon dragon did not know about the nine-leaf fire lotus's innate divine body. However, so what if it self-destructed? It was only a trash war soul. It was nothing to worry about. The demon dragon cackled and said, "What nonsense is this fire lotus? Although it tastes all right, I'm more interested in tasting the purple gold dragon soul." Boom! The devil's mouth appeared again. The demon dragon's eyes were filled with provocation. "Nonsense fire lotus," Qin Feiyang muttered under his breath. "The demon dragon looks down on you. Even I can't stand it. How can you stand it?" Naturally, his words were meant for the nine-leaf fire lotus. However, the nine-leaf fire lotus in his sea of qi was indifferent. "You have a good temper. Looks like only an expert like the ice dragon can attract your attention. However, this proves that you think he's extraordinary. I'm sorry. I've neglected you," Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. "What are you mumbling to yourself for? Don't tell me you're scared out of your wits." The demon dragon mocked. "You're getting more and more arrogant," Qin Feiyang muttered under his breath. His eyes flashed coldly as he said, "You want to taste my purple gold dragon soul? I'll fulfill your wish." Roar! Accompanied by a loud dragon's roar, the purple gold dragon soul roared. Its terrifying dragon's might swept out in all directions. Yes. That's what makes it interesting. Mo Long's ferocious eyes shone with a fiery light. "I hope you can continue to be so arrogant." Imperial Penitentiary. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the Emperor prison instantly opened. Swallow! The demonic dragon laughed maniacally, and the demonic maw charged toward the purple gold divine dragon with shocking demonic might. But when the mouth of the devil entered the Emperor divine prison, it was immediately imprisoned in the void. Demon dragon's laughter froze. Following closely, the Emperor divine prison enveloped the demon dragon like a bolt of lightning. Not only was Mo Long imprisoned, but his mind also went blank. Consciousness deprivation. Terrifying indeed. The demon ancestor, who was standing across from Qin Feiyang, muttered to himself as his pupils shrank. Whoosh! As the demon dragon's mind went blank, Qin Feiyang teleported and appeared between the demon dragon's eyebrows. "You really picked the wrong person. If you were to look for Zhao Tai Lai and the others, you would definitely be able to win. Unfortunately, you found me." Qin Feiyang sighed and raised his arm. An invisible force gushed out from the tip of his index finger like a tide. The dragon scale between the demon dragon's eyebrows exploded in an instant, and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. At this time, the demon dragon also woke up. The threat of death immediately engulfed his mind. When he saw Qin Feiyang's expression at this moment, he was shocked again. Obviously, Qin Feiyang intended to kill him directly. "Want to kill this emperor? In your dreams." The demon dragon roared, and his expression was extremely ferocious. Clang! Accompanied by a loud sound, a black light shot out from between its eyebrows. It destroyed the invisible force as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood as it shot towards Qin Feiyang. It was a small flag the size of a palm. On top of it, there was a 9-headed demon dragon with black fog surging. That's right. It was the supreme grade divine artifact, the Sky Demon Flag. As soon as he saw the Sky Demon Flag, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. He had long had the idea of destroying this demonic creature. His 5 fingers were like eagle claws as they burst out. Qin Feiyang grabbed the Sky Demon Flag. Idiot! The Sky Demon Flag is a top-grade divine artifact. No matter how strong your body is, you are still digging your own grave. The demon dragon laughed and roared, "Revive!" A shocking demonic aura suddenly emerged. The sky demon flag glowed with a thick black light as it rushed toward Qin Feiyang, wanting to swallow Qin Feiyang. A mere demonic creature dares to be so presumptuous. Shatter for me. Qin Feiyang coldly snorted. In his palm, a wisp of blood flashed and disappeared. Crack! The sky demon flag was torn apart on the spot. Don't kill me! A voice full of fear was immediately transmitted into Qin Feiyang's mind. This voice came from the spirit of the sky demon flag. Impossible! The demon dragon's eyes also suddenly widened. That blood-colored flash was like a flash in the pan. It didn't catch it. So it was really hard to imagine how Qin Feiyang did it. A top-grade divine artifact was so fragile in his hands? Qin Feiyang, don't kill me. I will serve you as my master. The spirit of the sky demon flag wailed. I don't need it. Qin Feiyang shook his head, and an invisible force rolled out from his palm. No, no, no! The spirit roared. However, at this moment, the demon ancestor instantly appeared in front of Qin Feiyang and grabbed Qin Feiyang's wrist. What? Finally can't help but make a move? Qin Feiyang sneered. No. I just want to take back the sky demon flag. The demon ancestor shook his head. I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Qin Feiyang shouted. The invisible force was like a volcanic eruption, frantically destroying the sky demon flag. Is that so? The corner of the demon ancestor's mouth lifted, and his eyes suddenly turned blood red. When he looked at the demon ancestor's eyes, an indescribable sense of fear suddenly emerged from the depths of Qin Feiyang's heart. His body and mind trembled, and his eyes were filled with despair. At this moment, he felt as if there were countless demons surrounding him, staring at him. How could this be? His heart was shocked to the extreme. Even the strength of the demon ancestor couldn't make him feel despair, let alone a look. Moreover, this kind of despair was not the despair that appeared when encountering a strong enemy, but the despair that came from the heart, from the soul. Unknowingly, Qin Feiyang let go of his hand. Just like that, the demon ancestor took away the sky demon flag in front of Qin Feiyang. The purple gold dragon's soul and the emperor prison also gradually dissipated. At this moment, Qin Feiyang was still drowning in despair. And he was sinking deeper and deeper. Finally, his entire soul was swallowed by despair, and there was no light in front of him. He slowly lay in the air, scanning his surroundings, his face full of despair and fear. What's going on? In the ancient castle. Looking at the current Qin Feiyang, Ling Yunfei and the others were full of surprise. Strange. The inner demons murmured. What's wrong? Everyone looked at him suspiciously. I can feel that the original body's heart is extremely fearful now. This kind of phenomenon has never happened before. The inner demons said. How is this possible? Even when facing the ice dragon and the small beast, he had the courage to challenge them, let alone the demon ancestor and the demon dragon. Luo Qingzhu said. I'm also very puzzled. The inner demons murmured. Suddenly, he noticed the demon ancestor's eyes, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Could it be because of the demon ancestor's eyes? That endless despair devoured Qin Feiyang's soul. He desperately wanted to forget this despair, but he found that he couldn't. The abyss of despair can devour everything. No matter how strong a person's fighting spirit is, in front of me, he is just an ant. The demon ancestor shook his head, and the blood in his eyes faded. He turned around and walked to the side. However, even if his eyes returned to normal, Qin Feiyang still didn't walk out of the abyss of despair. In fact, the despair in his heart was even stronger. The demon ancestor glanced at Qin Feiyang and said lightly, Demon dragon, he no longer has the ability to fight. Kill him. The demon dragon looked at the demon ancestor's eyes, and there was a deep fear in his eyes. He grinned and said, All right. This emperor said that I will devour you alive. Now, you will become this emperor's food. The demon dragon laughed. 9 heads and 9 mouths opened at the same time, revealing sharp fangs, and rushed towards Qin Feiyang. Inner demons, quickly go and help. Luo Qingzhu shouted anxiously, and her face was pale. The inner demon's eyes sank and was about to leave the ancient castle, but suddenly he was stunned. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile, and he muttered secretly, I knew it. You won't be defeated so easily. Inner demons. Seeing that the inner demons were indifferent, Ling Yunfei also shouted anxiously. Shut up! The inner demons turned around and stared at Ling Yunfei. His blood-red eyes were full of killing intent. Ling Yunfei suddenly felt panic. He swallowed his saliva and fell silent. Outside, the demon dragon had already rushed in front of Qin Feiyong, and his 9 heads went straight for Qin Feiyong. Those rows of fangs were glowing with a bone-chilling light. Qin Feiyong. How can I feel despair? Even if I feel despair, it will only make my fighting strength and fighting spirit stronger. Qin Feiyong lay in the void and muttered to himself. His expression was quite ferocious. Finally, he roared to the sky and his aura erupted. The purple gold dragon's soul roared out again. The Emperor Divine Prison opened in an instant. The demon dragon was immediately imprisoned, and his mind went blank. Boom! At the same time that the demon dragon was imprisoned, Qin Feiyong suddenly stood up. His hair billowed in anger as he punched the demon dragon's lower abdomen. Roar! The demonic dragon let out a miserable howl as its enormous body was sent flying. On his lower abdomen, there was a bloody hole, and blood spurted out like a fountain. His sea of qi was also completely shattered. The aura of his body quickly dissipated. How is this possible? He can actually wake up. How terrifying is this person's willpower? The demon dragon looked at Qin Feiyong in horror. Then with a bang, he smashed into the ground far away. His head tilted and he fainted on the spot. Despair. It's fatal to anyone. But only I, Qin Feiyong. Because I crawled out of despair step by step, and then step by step, I reached where I am today. Qin Feiyong suddenly looked at the demon ancestor and shouted, Don't you understand? Despair is the motivation for me, Qin Feiyong, to grow. Boom. With an unparalleled aura, he rushed to the front of the demon ancestor and punched the demon ancestor's chest. Puff! The demon ancestor spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body retreated continuously. At this moment, he was also in a daze, and he was in extreme disbelief. He knew better than anyone else how terrifying his eyes were. Even Qin Batian, Lu Zhengyang, and Mu Tianyang back then could not escape the nightmare brought by his eyes. It could even be said that no one in the current Great Qin Empire and the Forgotten Continent could escape the control of these eyes. However, this young man in front of him actually relied on his strong willpower to forcefully overcome it. Was this Qin Feiyong? Chapter 1845. Qin Feiyong stepped into the air and walked toward the demon ancestor step by step. He said coldly, Isn't everything that I've experienced thanks to you? Abducting grandfather. Letting the Imperial Preceptor stay in the Imperial Palace openly and monitor all my family members. Even forcing father to have no choice but to cripple my cultivation and expel me from the Imperial capital. But you definitely didn't expect that all that you've done has made me who I am now. Don't you feel that it's very funny? Tell me, should I still be grateful to you? Qin Feiyong's long hair danced in the wind. Like a demon god, he rushed in front of the demon ancestor and threw another punch. Boom! The demon ancestor raised his arm and grabbed Qin Feiyong's fist. He said, I really envy Qin Batian for having such an outstanding descendant. But your fate has already been decided. A terrifying divine power appeared in his palm. Qin Feiyong's fist was instantly split open. Then, the demon ancestor's arm shook. Qin Feiyong was sent flying on the spot, blood gushing out of his mouth. Do you know what fate is? No matter how hard you struggle, no matter how hard you work, you can't escape from the control of others. This is fate. To be honest, I sympathize with you. After fighting for so long, you still can't change all of this. The demon ancestor sighed. The demon dragon seal appeared and its divine power spread in all directions. Boom! Qin Feiyong was blasted into the ground. Blood flowed out of his body. Whoosh! But in the next moment, he rushed out from the ground and shouted, I don't need anyone's sympathy. Moreover, all of this isn't over yet. Boom! Whoosh! Whoosh! Divine Dragon Art, Fire Phoenix Art, Void End Art, Eclipse Moon, and Gue Yuan Sword Art were all activated in an instant. The sharpness tore the sky and split the earth. There was also an unyielding will. If death is fate, Then I'll go against the heavens and break the shackles of fate. Qin Feiyang roared into the sky. The various deity arts were activated at the same time. They were like meteors as they charged toward the demonic ancestor. You don't have that ability. The fiend ancestor shook his head. The demonic dragon's roar reverberated through the sky. The formless sound waves destroyed everything. All kinds of deity arts were destroyed one after another. In the end, the sound waves drowned Qin Feiyang. Like an invisible blade, Qin Feiyang was instantly covered in cuts and bruises. You still don't understand? No matter how many deity techniques you have, you won't be able to block my demonic dragon art. Just give up. The demon ancestor roared and summoned the demon dragon seal again. It was like a huge mountain that covered the sky as it pressed down on Qin Feiyang. Following a loud rumble, the heaven and earth began to tremble. Qin Feiyang was not only drenched in blood, but there was also not a single part of his body that was intact. Like a meteor, he was crazily smashed into the ground. The ground within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles was collapsing. Abyssal fissures spread towards the ends of the earth like spider webs. The fiend ancestor waved his hand as the dust dissipated. Qin Feiyang lay in a pool of blood and looked at the sky. His eyes seemed a little dim. The fiend ancestor landed beside Qin Feiyang and sighed. According to my relationship with Qin Batian in the past, you can be considered my descendant. Unfortunately, all of this was destroyed by Qin Batian. The ancestor is not wrong. You have indeed gone mad. Qin Feiyang muttered. Haha. You guys are really the same. Originally, I wanted to spare your life, only cripple your cultivation, and let you live the rest of your life peacefully. But now, it seems that there's no need for that. And the gap between us, I believe you have already realized it. Just accept your fate. The fiend ancestor raised his arm and a black devil flame spewed out from his palm, emitting a destructive aura. Boom. Following closely, that devil flame pounced towards Qin Feiyang. Accept my fate? In my, Qin Feiyang's dictionary, there will never be these two words. Qin Feiyang raised his arm and slapped at the devil flame. A dazzling return character appeared in the center of his palm. Return word formula. After so many days, the return word formula finally appeared. Boom. Golden light burst out. The devil flame immediately turned in the air and drowned the fiend ancestor. Qin Feiyang took the opportunity to leap up and retreat. He raised his head and looked at the fiend ancestor. Although the aura of the devil flame was terrifying, it did not cause any actual damage to the fiend ancestor. Boom. The fiend ancestor's body shook, and the devil flame was extinguished on the spot. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I forgot that you still have the 6-word formula. The devil dragon art that surpasses the perfect divine art is indeed terrifying. However, I wonder if it can be compared to the 6-word formula? Qin Feiyang said. Are you provoking me? The fiend ancestor's eyes flashed with a cold light. The first move, Devil Dragon Seal, the second move, Devil Dragon Roar, and the third move, Lord of All Demons, appeared in the sky at the same time. That shocking demonic aura was unprecedentedly terrifying. The entire Demon Dragon Island began to tremble. What? They actually evolved the first 3 moves of the Devil Dragon art at the same time. Could it be that Lord Fiend Ancestor is in a tough battle? Sima Kuan and the others in the distance felt the demonic aura of the 3 great devil arts, and their eyes were filled with surprise. We said that the Fiend Ancestor will definitely be defeated by the young master. The eyes of Zhao Tai and the others became sharper, and their aura became more terrifying. This group of people. What exactly is supporting them? Sima Kuan and the others glanced at Zhao Tai and the others, feeling incredulous. The battle had continued until now, and both sides were seriously injured. However, this group of people did not show any signs of weakness. Instead, they became more courageous as they fought. Moreover, they were not worried about Qin Feiyang's situation at all. What kind of people were this group of people? Relying on each other, trusting each other, this is the source of our strength that supports us. However, you people will never understand. Zhao Tai snorted. Come on. Let me see what changes your 6-word divine art has undergone. The Fiend Ancestor's roar resounded through the sky. The 3 great devil arts shattered the void and the earth as they charged toward Qin Feiyang. Heaven-defying divine art is not just for show. Qin Feiyang glanced at the fiend ancestor, then looked up at the three great devil arts, and raised his hand to slap the air. The void there instantly turned into a golden ocean. The rolling golden waves were like giant dragons, roaring toward the three great devil arts. Kaboom! Following an earth-shattering explosion, the devil dragon seal that was comparable to a mountain, the sound waves that could destroy everything, and the demonic statue that was like a demon king from hell, under the impact of the golden light, suddenly turned in the air and charged toward the fiend ancestor. The devil dragon seal blasted onto the fiend ancestor. The invisible sound waves drowned the fiend ancestor. The demonic statue that was the lord of all demons stepped on the fiend ancestor's head. Being attacked by the three great devil arts at the same time, even the fiend ancestor could not help but let out a painful howl. His entire body was blasted into the depths of the earth in an instant. This is the current power of the return formula. Have you seen how powerful it is? Do you feel the despair that it brings to you? Qin Feiyang whispered. Although his voice was soft, it had an extremely strong penetrating power, clearly transmitting into the fiend ancestor's ears. It is very powerful, but despair? What kind of joke is this? I am the source of despair. In this world, only I can make people despair. No one has ever made me feel despair. The fiend ancestor's hair stood on end as he carried an aura that could destroy the world. He shattered the layers of earth and rushed into the clouds, looking down at Qin Feiyang. Eyes of despair, activate. Following his roar, the pair of eyes instantly turned blood red. Deep in Qin Feiyang's heart, a deep sense of despair emerged. I said before that this move is useless against me. Despair will only make me stronger. Don't you understand? Qin Feiyang roared angrily as he took a step into the clouds and slammed his palm toward the fiend ancestor's chest. Puff! The fiend ancestor spat out blood as he retreated. However, not only did he not escape, he laughed and said, "Your 6-word formula was specially prepared for me, right? Powerful means are naturally left for powerful people. And here, other than you, no one is qualified to make me activate the 6-word formula. So you should wake up." Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with killing intent. The emperor statue appeared and the broken sword emitted an apocalyptic sharpness as it slashed toward the fiend ancestor. The one who should wake up is you. The fiend ancestor's expression suddenly revealed a sinister look. Those blood-red eyes began to change again. The blood color quickly faded and was replaced by a grayish-white mist. Finally, his eyes were completely replaced by a grayish-white color. Those eyes were like Zhuge Mingyang's eyes back then. They were completely grayish-white and looked very strange. However, the change in Zhuge Mingyang's eyes was purely because he cultivated the immortal demon technique. The fiend ancestor's eyes were not that simple. Just as the fiend ancestor's eyes turned grayish-white, Qin Feiyang's body suddenly trembled. An indescribable despair instantly shrouded his heart. The emperor statue above also crumbled. This is the real eyes of despair. No one can escape the despair brought by the eyes of despair. You will be in the abyss of despair, step by step towards destruction. The fiend ancestor laughed loudly, his face ferocious and terrifying. What's wrong with me? Shouldn't despair be my motivation? Why am I still shrouded in despair? Qin Feiyang lay in the void and muttered to himself. He suddenly looked up at the sky and shook his head in disbelief. What's going on? Why is the sky collapsing? At this moment, in his line of sight, the sky was crazily collapsing. He looked down at the earth below. The earth was also shattering and annihilating. What the hell is going on? His eyes were filled with confusion. Suddenly, he turned his head and looked into the distance again, only to see Zhao Tailai and the others falling one by one. Their bodies exploded in the void, and blood mist filled the sky. No! I beg you, don't die, he roared in despair. Clang! Accompanied by a loud noise, Qin Feiyang saw the castle also shattering in the void. The people and beasts inside, including the inner demons, were all smashed into pieces. Don't die, we still have to fight, please come back to life. I don't want to be alone, don't leave me. Qin Feiyang was hysterical, like a helpless child, shouting in the void. But he couldn't stop all of this. Until the end. Everyone, everything, even heaven and earth, dissipated in front of his eyes. His surroundings gradually fell into deep darkness. Please remember the domain name of this book. Literature Museum mobile version website. Chapter 1846. But in reality, the world did not disappear. The castle did not shatter. Everyone did not die. But at this moment, Qin Feiyong was standing alone in the darkness. Not only did he not see a trace of light, but he also did not see a single person. He kept roaring. But not a single voice responded to him. The surroundings were terrifyingly silent. In his heart, he was getting more and more panicked and desperate. How could this be? Despair is obviously useless to us, but why do I feel so helpless in my heart now? What did the demon ancestor do to him? The inner demons looked at Qin Feiyong in the image, his face full of shock and doubt. Eyes. Suddenly, he looked at the demon ancestor's eyes. Could it be that pair of eyes again? The endless abyss of despair can gradually erode a person's mind, courage, and fighting spirit. In the end, they can't take this torture and their mind will collapse. They may even choose to commit suicide to free themselves. This is the eye of despair. Qin Feiyong, with your talent, you will surpass me sooner or later. To be honest, I really can't bear to kill you. But I can't let someone who can't be used by me continue to grow. So, I'm sorry. In the void outside, the demon ancestor stood in the wind, looking at the helpless Qin Feiyong opposite him and muttering to himself. There was an inexplicable sadness in his expression. He slowly raised his head, looking at the sky, and muttered, Qin Batian, this is all your fault. If you didn't betray our friendship, why would I kill Qin Feiyong now? Just you wait. After I kill everyone and unify the great Qin Empire and Forgotten Continent, I will enter the ancient world, find you, and settle the blood debt from back then. After saying that, the demon ancestor retracted his gaze, turned around, and left, not looking at Qin Feiyong again. Where are you going? But at this moment, an extremely weak voice could be heard coming from behind. The demon ancestor raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Qin Feiyong. He saw that Qin Feiyong was half kneeling in the air with his head buried. His hands were tightly clenched together. Is our battle over? You want to leave? The weak voice sounded again. That was right. It was Qin Feiyong. How is this possible? Demon Alpha was frozen. She turned around and looked at Qin Feiyong in disbelief. He could tell that Qin Feiyong hadn't struggled out of the abyss of despair. But why was she still able to speak to him? Was it because of willpower? Did she instinctively speak because she sensed that he was about to leave? Just how terrifying was this young man? Even when he had fallen into such despair, he was still unable to truly destroy his will. I've worked so hard for so long and sacrificed so much. What was it all for? Isn't it just to have a complete family? Now, I haven't even fulfilled this small wish of mine. How can I be defeated here? Qin Feiyong struggled madly in his heart, trying hard to find the light that belonged to him. Who am I? I am Qin Feiyong. How can this little bit of despair defeat me? For my mother, for my family, for my friends, for the family of my dreams, I must continue to fight. That's right. Fight, I must fight. Finally, in the depths of Qin Feiyong's heart, a ray of light gradually appeared. This ray of light was like a ray of gentle sunlight, warming his heart and illuminating his inner world. Everything was like the clouds parting to see the sun. The sky and earth gradually became clear. Yes, I want to fight. Defeat all the enemies in front of me. Even if the heavens want me to die, I won't. All of a sudden, Qin Feiyong raised his head and roared. His hair fluttered in anger, and the darkness before him instantly scattered. The despair in his heart also turned into a monstrous aura that broke out from his body. Boom! At this moment, the sky and earth changed color. Even the sea around the demonic dragon island had huge waves that covered the sky. Whether it was Sima Kuan's group or Zhao Tailai's group, they couldn't help but tremble. This aura, what's going on? It can't be. At the same time, Ancestor Mo clenched his fists and looked at Qin Feiyong in disbelief. He actually broke his eyes of despair. Eyes of despair was one of his most powerful techniques. How could it be broken so easily? No! My eyes of despair is invincible. Ancestor Mo, who was mad with anger, roared. That pair of gray eyes suddenly emitted rays of divine light. Qin Feiyong also suddenly lowered his head and didn't dodge. He looked straight into Ancestor Mo's eyes without any change in expression. How can this be? It actually failed. Ancestor Mo was shocked. Eyes of despair. Is it useless against this kid? You only have this little trick? Qin Feiyong took a step forward. Divine power rolled out and punched Ancestor Mo's stomach. Roar! Ancestor Mo immediately let out a miserable howl like a pig being slaughtered. He flew out and his blood dyed the sky red. If that's all you have, then be destroyed. Qin Feiyong's aura was like a rainbow. He teleported and landed on top of Ancestor Mo. Then, he stomped on Ancestor Mo's head. Kacha! The sound of skull breaking could be heard. With a boom, Ancestor Mo fell to the ground below and smashed out a huge crater. Inside the ancient castle. Looking at this scene, Ling Yunfei shook his head and smiled bitterly. Can't you be a little more stable? You always make us worry. My little heart can't take it. Be a little more stable. The inner demons pursed his lips with a hint of mockery. You don't even know what I experienced just now? That kind of terrifying despair is enough to make people die without a burial place. If it were you, you would have already died in the hands of Ancestor Mo. Ling Yunfei smiled embarrassedly. I'm just concerned about him. Instead of worrying about him, why don't you worry about yourself? Because your mother is now in the hands of Ancestor Mo. The inner demon said. Ling Yunfei's eyes suddenly sank. He raised his head and looked at Ancestor Mo. His eyes were burning with anger. Outside, dust billowed, drowning the earth. Inside the huge crater, Ancestor Mo was lying at the bottom, blood flowing all over his body. But his face was distorted to the extreme. Hee hee. Ha ha. A mere Qin Feiyong was actually able to force me to this extent. Truly laughable to the extreme. He laughed crazily and soared into the sky. Demonic flames surged all over his body. The injuries on his body and head were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. When he flew out of the crater and stood in the void opposite Qin Feiyong, his injuries had already healed. How is this possible? Qin Feiyong was shocked. He didn't hold back in the previous punch and kick. Originally, he thought that even if he didn't kill Ancestor Mo, he could at least shatter Ancestor Mo's Sea of Qi and Sea of Consciousness. But now, not to mention shattering Sea of Qi and Sea of Consciousness, not even a scar could be seen. Forbidden technique, soul of life. Ancestor Mo looked at Qin Feiyong and said word by word. Forbidden technique. Qin Feiyong was shocked. Soul of life requires one's lifespan as the price. But to me, sacrificing this bit of lifespan doesn't matter at all. Ancestor Mo laughed sinisterly. Qin Feiyong's eyes sank slightly. Mastering such a forbidden technique, wouldn't Ancestor Mo have an immortal body? Qin Feiyong, you really gave me a lot of surprises. You almost made my state of mind collapse. Tell me, how should I repay you for treating me like this? Why don't I give you a little surprise too? Ancestor Mo laughed. Qin Feiyong looked at him coldly. The bloodline power in his body emitted a majestic vitality, and was also quickly healing the injuries on his body. Yes, this surprise, I must give it to you. After all, I have planned for so many years. How can I not let you know? Ancestor Mo looked up to the sky and laughed non-stop, as if he was crazy. Heaven observation technique. Suddenly, with a loud shout, he raised his hand and pointed in the air. Heaven observation technique? Qin Feiyong was surprised. He remembered that Ancestor Mo said not long ago that heaven observation technique could see everything that happened within 3 days. But now they were fighting. Why did Ancestor Mo open heaven observation see at this time? Buzz! As Ancestor Mo pointed in the air, the void in front suddenly distorted. In just a few breaths, an image appeared. The image showed the bottom of the sea. At the bottom of the sea, there was a majestic mountain range. The highest point was more than 10,000 feet high. Through the image, one could clearly see that there were large and small caves in the mountain range. What is this place? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Ancestor Mo laughed. You don't recognize it? But thinking about it, although you have been to this sea area, you have never been to this place. I have been there? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Don't keep me in suspense. What is this place?" Sea of Despair. Ancestor Mo said. What? Sea of Despair. Qin Feiyong's face suddenly changed. Of course, he remembered the Sea of Despair. It was the place where the Mer people lived. Surprised, right? More surprises are yet to come. The place you are looking at now is the true sacred land of the Mer people. Only those who broke through to War Emperor and above are qualified to enter this place. And in these 10,000 years, they have been recuperating in the sacred land. Not only did they give birth to dozens of false gods, but they also gave birth to 5 war gods. Ancestor Mo laughed wildly. Dozens of false gods. 5 war gods. The Mer people are so strong? Qin Feiyong was shocked. That's right. At that time when I learned of the situation, I was also very surprised like you are now. Later on, after my investigation, I found that they actually hit a space divine object. And this space divine object also has a time array. Ancestor Mo said. Qin Feiyong's heart was filled with disbelief. The cultivation of the Mer people was determined by their wings. War Emperor, a pair of wings. War Emperor, 2 pairs of wings. And so on. In the past, when he entered the Sea of Despair, many of the Mer people he saw had a pair of wings. Most of them didn't even have wings. At that time, the most he had seen was 3 pairs of wings. 3 pairs of wings, which was War Master. However, he had only seen 2 Mer people with 3 pairs of wings. He remembered that at that time, when he was helping the Mer people Emperor to deal with the Black Wing King and the White Wing King, those 2 Mer people suddenly appeared. Please remember the domain name of this book. Literature Museum Mobile Edition website, M. Chapter 1847. And these 2 were called Ancestor Black Wing and Ancestor White Wing by the Merfolk clan. It was precisely because of this name that he always thought that the Merfolk clan's foundation was not very strong. After all, the 2 ancestors were only at the War Master level. Even if the Merfolk clan had other hidden powerhouses, how strong could they be? But he never thought that there would be dozens of fake gods. There were even 5 war gods. This kind of foundation was not an ordinary kind of terrifying. Wait, you said that they have a space divine object with a time array? Qin Feiyong was surprised. That's right. But the time array is not very powerful. 1 day is equivalent to 2 days. The demon ancestor said, his eyes full of disdain. You are really arrogant. Qin Feiyong sneered. The Merfolk clan had been recuperating in the Sea of Despair for more than 10,000 years. 1 day was equivalent to 2 days, which was 20,000 years. Was this not strong enough? Of course. Compared to the castle, it was indeed nothing. After all, the rules of time in the castle were that 1 day was equivalent to 1 year. But even so, the Merfolk clan also had an advantage that others did not have. Qin Feiyong looked at the scene in the void and said in a deep voice, "What do you want to do to them?" Not what do I want to do to them. What do they want to do to you? That's not right. You should ask, what do they want to do to the great Qin Empire? The demon ancestor laughed. And Qin Feiyong was surprised. The demon ancestor said, "You should know the history of the Merfolk clan." Qin Feiyong nodded. Back then, when the ancestor created the great Qin Empire, the Merfolk clan had already existed. And their overall strength was very powerful. At that time, the Merfolk clan was also ambitious and wanted to rule this territory, which posed a great threat to the ancestor. But in that era, no one could compare to the ancestor in terms of strength or strategy. Finally, the ancestor only used a few years to sweep through the Merfolk clan. Originally, the ancestor had the ability to kill them all. But because of the benevolence of the ancestor, not only did he let the Merfolk clan go, but he also gave them a quiet place to recuperate. This place was the Sea of Despair. Moreover, in order to prevent the Merfolk clan from being attacked by humans again, the ancestors deliberately erased that part of history. As a result, later generations did not know about the existence of mermaids and mermaids. They only thought that it was a legend. It could be said that, for the Merfolk clan, the ancestors were extremely benevolent. It was also because of this that the first generation of mermaid emperors, the black-winged emperor and the white-winged emperor, followed their ancestors. Speaking of which, these three could be considered as people who knew how to repay kindness. It's good that you know. I don't have to explain anymore. However, there's one thing you probably don't know. Back then, Qin Batian not only spared the Merfolk clan, but he also gave them a spatial divine item with a time array. Said the fiend ancestor. What? That spatial divine object was given to them by the ancestors. Qin Feiyong was bewildered. That's right. That's why I called him an idiot. He did this because he thought that the mermaid clan would be grateful to him. Of course, it's undeniable that the first generation of mermaid emperors, the black-winged emperor and the white-winged emperor, were indeed grateful and followed him. However, the merfolk who stayed in the Sea of Despair were always thinking about revenge. The demon ancestor mocked. That's impossible. I've seen the current mermaid emperor. He doesn't have such thoughts at all. Qin Feiyong shook his head. You're talking about the mermaid princess father, right? He indeed doesn't have such thoughts. However, with his insignificant strength, he has no right to speak in the merfolk clan. Because the ones who truly control the merfolk clan are the 5 war gods. You can understand it this way. He's just a puppet. The demon ancestor sneered. As you said, the merfolk clan has always wanted revenge. Then why didn't they do it before? You should know that before entering the divine ruin, the strength of our great Qin was no match for them. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice. Before entering the divine ruin, the entire great Qin only had a few false gods. As for the merfolk clan, they had 5 war gods and dozens of false gods. Even if the 5 war gods didn't appear, the dozens of false gods were enough to sweep the great Qin Empire. It's not that they didn't do anything, but they didn't dare to. The demon ancestor said. What's the reason? Qin Feiyong asked. Qin Yuan. The demon ancestor said. It's Uncle Yuan again. Qin Feiyong's gaze trembled. Although Qin Yuan is the guardian of this continent and can't participate in the disputes of the continent, he's too strong. A strong enough person can have a deterrent effect even if he doesn't do anything. The demon ancestor sighed. In that case, it's Uncle Yuan who has been silently protecting the great Qin Empire all these years? Qin Feiyong said. What do you think? If it wasn't for Qin Yuan, the great Qin Empire would have been destroyed by the merfolk clan. The demon ancestor snorted. Uncle Yuan, how much have you sacrificed for us? How do you want me to repay you? Qin Feiyong muttered, and his eyes couldn't help but tear up. The demon ancestor smiled sinisterly and said, But now, Qin Yuan won't do anything. How can you guess Uncle Yuan's thoughts? Qin Feiyong sneered. First, it's the snow python. When we returned to the great Qin Empire, she immediately closed the spatial gate and stopped you on the forgotten continent. At that time, I guessed that she was helping us on purpose. In order to confirm my guess, I asked Zhuge Mingyang and the imperial tutor to go to the Lu family immediately. In the end, although you rushed back, Qin Yuan still didn't appear. When I received this news, I thought about it and finally came to a conclusion. Qin Yuan and the snow python must be together now. In other words, Qin Yuan is restrained by the snow python. The demon ancestor said. Amazing. In the sky above the mountains. Hearing this, the snow python and Qin Yuan couldn't help but look at the demon ancestor in a different light. Although I don't know why the snow python did this, I'm very grateful to her. Because as long as Qin Yuan can't do anything, the great Qin Empire will be destroyed today. The fiend ancestor laughed loudly. His laughter was especially savage. Is that so? Qin Feiyong's gaze turned cold. You don't believe me? Then open your eyes and watch how I destroy the great Qin Empire. The demon ancestor smiled sinisterly and looked up at the image in the sky. He shouted, 5 mermaid ancestors come out. His voice was like a bell, shaking the sky. Moreover, through the image in the sky, it was transmitted to the Sea of Despair. Whoosh! Before his voice dissipated, 5 figures appeared in the image out of thin air. They were 5 middle-aged men. Their lower bodies were not fishtails and were almost no different from humans. However, on their backs, there were 7 pairs of wings. The man in the center was 7 feet tall and had a rough face. He wore a golden robe and the 7 pairs of wings on his back seemed to be cast from gold leaf, emitting a dazzling divine light. It was a pair of golden wings. The 2 on the left wore black robes and the 7 pairs of wings on their back were pitch black. Both of them were black-winged mermaids. The 2 on the right wore snow-white robes and their 7 pairs of wings were as white as snow. They were like angels. White-winged mermaids. Who's talking? The 5 mermaid ancestors scanned the sky. It's me. The demon ancestor's figure appeared in front of the 5. Demon ancestor? The 5 raised their eyebrows. That's right. It's me. The demon ancestor nodded. Why are you looking for us? The golden-winged mermaid frowned. The demon ancestor said, The time has come. The time has come. The golden-winged mermaid lowered his head and muttered. Suddenly, he raised his head and laughed. His eyes were filled with hatred as he said, Great Qin, your end has finally arrived. The 2 black-winged mermaids and the 2 white-winged mermaids were also filled with killing intent. Boom! The next moment, the 5 of them rushed out of the Sea of Despair and flew toward the state capital, Demon Dragon Island. The demon ancestor also waved his hand, and the image in the sky quickly dissipated. Immediately after, he looked at Qin Feiyong and said, This is my heavenly observation technique. Not only can I see what has happened in the past 3 days, but I can also talk to people from a distance. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice, I didn't expect that even they would become your lackeys. No. I'm just in a cooperative relationship with them. They hate Great Qin and Qin Batian. I also hate Great Qin and Qin Batian, so we hit it off. The demon ancestor laughed. A group of heartless thieves. After I get rid of you, I'll go and slaughter them all. Qin Feiyong clenched his fists. Get rid of me? Do you really think that you have the ability? Even if you have the ability to get rid of me, by then, your Great Qin will have already been destroyed in their hands. The demon ancestor laughed. Don't forget that the altar leading to the imperial capital has already been destroyed by Zhuge Mingyang. They can't kill their way into the imperial capital. Qin Feiyong snorted coldly. It doesn't matter. I don't expect them to be able to kill their way into the imperial capital. As long as they kill everyone in the 9 provinces, it will be equivalent to destroying Great Qin's foundation. After all, for a country, the civilians are the foundation. The demon ancestor said. What? They'll massacre the 9 provinces? Qin Feiyong was shocked. That's right. How is it? Are you anxious now? The demon ancestor laughed cruelly. You bastards, I won't forgive you. Qin Feiyong's hair stood on end as he unleashed all sorts of god techniques and crazily attacked the demon ancestor. Haha. I knew it. You're the same as Qin Batian. You can't let go of Great Qin civilians. And this will be your Achilles heel. The demon ancestor laughed crazily as the demon dragon art appeared and blasted towards the various god techniques. Yes, I can't let go. So, you must use death to atone for your sins. Qin Feiyong used the Dao character art and rushed forward. Golden light burst out from his palm as the demon dragon art spun in the air and blasted onto the demon ancestor. Puff! The demon ancestor immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Following closely, Qin Feiyong's various god techniques were like a tide, drowning the demon ancestor. Boom! Crack! A destructive aura spread out in all directions. Soul of life, open. The demon ancestor roared as demonic flames curled around his body. The injuries on his body instantly healed. Then, he teleported and arrived in front of Qin Feiyong in one step as he roared. It's not me who wants to forgive, it's you who wants to forgive for the mistakes that Qin Batian made back then. After saying that, he punched towards Qin Feiyong. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Mobile version of reading website, M. Chapter 1848. Kill. Qin Feiyong's hair also fluttered in anger as he punched out. The 2 fists met in an instant. This world suddenly fell into a dead silence. Boom. But then, accompanied by an earth-shaking explosion, a destructive aura spread out in all directions with the 2 of them as the center. Puff. Their bodies shook at the same time and retreated. Then they raised their fists at the same time and punched each other. Deity, old Qin hasn't gone to the 9 continents yet. Give me the image crystal immediately. I will send a message to him. The voice of the inner demon sounded in Qin Feiyong's mind. Qin Feiyong was stunned. That's right. Before dawn, the space-time gate couldn't be opened. Old Qin must still be in the imperial capital. Qin Feiyong took out the image crystal and sent it to the castle. It's useless. Even if you send a message to Emperor Hong and the others now, they can't stop the mermaid clan. Because they can't enter the 9 continents. It's too late for them to go after dawn. The people of the 9 prefectures will be plunged into misery and suffering. The demon ancestor laughed wildly. Shut up! Qin Feiyong roared. The two collided crazily in the void. God's blood continued to splatter, dyeing the sky red. Inside the castle, the inner demons grabbed the image crystal. The divine artifact could be shared, and the image crystal was no exception. Buzz! Soon, Old Man Qin's image appeared. You are! Old Qin was still in the throne room. Emperor Hong, the emperor, and the civil and military officials were all still here. Seeing the shadow of the inner demons appear, everyone cast their gazes over. I am Qin Feiyong's inner demons. The inner demons said. Emperor Hong hurriedly asked, How's the battle over there? The inner demons said in a deep voice, The war of gods has completely begun. Everyone is fighting bloody battles. As for the result, no one can predict. Hearing that, everyone's heart sank immediately. The inner demons said again, I'm sending you a message now because I have something to tell you. What? Old Qin was suspicious. The inner demons said, The mermaid clan is slaughtering the living beings of the 9 continents. Mermaid? The civil and military officials were bewildered. The mermaid clan is not a legend. They really exist. Furthermore, they are very strong. They have 5 war gods and several dozen false gods. The inner demons said. What? Everyone's expression changed. Even Old Qin and Emperor Hong were unable to remain calm. Old Qin, after midnight, go to the 9 great provinces and take a look. If the 9 great provinces have really been massacred by them, you must endure it and not confront them head-on. The inner demons reminded. Wash the 9 prefectures with blood. Old Man Qin muttered and said angrily, How can I just sit by and do nothing when faced with such a matter? I'm not asking for your permission. This is an order. Right now, Great Qin is besieged on all sides. As Great Qin's only war gods, nothing can happen to you and Emperor Hong. The inner demons said. Old Man Qin fell silent. Emperor Hong asked, Then what should we do? You stay in the imperial capital. Old Qin, go to the 9 great provinces. If the 9 great provinces have been massacred, immediately go into hiding. When the space-time gate can be opened, immediately return to the imperial capital. If there's a chance, destroy the Butterfly Valley's altar for me. The appearance of the mermaid clan has far exceeded our expectations. If at this time, Mu Tianyang also brings people to kill, then we will have no hope at all. The inner demons said in a deep voice. Emperor Hong said, We have already thought of this. Very good. The inner demons nodded and looked at Old Qin, who had lowered his head with a painful expression, and sighed. I know that you are feeling very uncomfortable in your heart, but I hope that you can consider the big picture. After all, this battle is not only related to the Qin clan's bloodline, but also the fate of the entire Great Qin. Old Qin's body trembled. He took a deep breath and looked at the inner demons. I understand, but there is one thing that you must pay attention to. What is it? The inner demons frowned. The little prince is missing. We suspect that the water Qilin and the ink Qilin took him away. Old Qin said. What? These damn bastards, they all have to die today. The inner demon's blood hair fluttered, and a monstrous evil aura rose from his body. Following closely. He turned off the image crystal and looked at the demon ancestor in the void in front of him, killing intent surging in his eyes. Dan Wang Kai. Suddenly, the inner demons shouted. Here. Dan Wang Kai looked at the inner demons. From now on, all of you will refine the healing pill, bone replenishing pill, spirit sea pill, and essence soul pill for me. The inner demons said. These medicinal pills were all used to save lives. Yes. Dan Wangkai immediately turned around and walked to the altar, opening the furnace to refine the pills. The inner demons said again, "The rest of you also prepare for battle." Yes. Everyone nodded in response. Demon ancestor, let's see the true strength of me and my original body now. The inner demon smiled sinisterly. In the next moment, he put away the image crystal and appeared beside Qin Feiyong, slapping the demon ancestor's body with his palm. Although the demon ancestor had long known that there was another inner demons, in such an intense battle, he couldn't guard against them at all. Puff! With a spurt of blood, the demon ancestor smashed into the ground. Qin Feiyong glanced at the inner demons and said in a deep voice, "I can deal with him alone. You go and help Zhao Tailai and end this quickly." The inner demon said, "I should be the one to deal with the demon ancestor. You go and help Zhao Tailai and the others." You! Qin Feiyong was extremely angry. "The two of you stay here." The demon ancestor roared and rushed out from the ground. There was not a single wound on his body. The inner demons took a step in front of Qin Feiyong and shouted without turning his head, "Go quickly. In less than an hour, I promise to twist his head and appear in front of you." Haha. Sure enough, one is more arrogant than the other. The demon ancestor laughed. Courting death. The inner demons activated the soaring dragon art, took a step forward, and punched the demon ancestor. Courting death indeed. Qin Feiyong also activated the walk word technique and rushed over. "You really don't listen to my advice." The inner demons glanced at Qin Feiyong, snorted from his nose, and then said, "Forget it, let's join hands to get rid of him first." It could be said that the strength of the inner demons was not inferior to Qin Feiyong in the slightest. With the two of them joining hands, the demon ancestor had no room to fight back at all. Rumble! The demon ancestor was blasted into the ground again and again, flesh and blood flying everywhere. His injuries were also getting worse. Although the demon ancestor had mastered the demonic dragon art, which was superior to the perfect divine art, Qin Feiyong and the inner demons also mastered the return word technique. Therefore, the demonic dragon art was not a threat to them at all. The situation of the various battlefields had become white-hot. The shattered demonic dragon island was also gradually being swallowed by the sea. Unknowingly, the sky darkened. Night fell. However, the sky above the demonic dragon island was as bright as day. Other than the collision of divine power, divine weapons, divine arts, and fighting souls, there were also frenzied cries. "What happened? Is this all you've got? After so long, you still can't kill me. You really disappoint me." The demon ancestor was covered in blood, but his expression became more and more arrogant. His contemptuous laughter resounded through the night sky. As for Qin Feiyong and the inner demons, although they were not injured, they were so tired that they were panting like cows. The two of them looked more and more sinister. They were already giving their all. However, no matter how hard the demon ancestor was hit, his injuries could be recovered instantly. He could not be killed at all. "I remember that you have mastered the return word technique, attainment word technique, battle word technique, and kill word technique. From the beginning of the battle until now, you have only used the attainment word technique and the return word technique. As for the battle word technique and the kill word technique, you have never used them. I believe that the battle word technique and the kill word technique are your real trump cards. But why do you keep them? Are you afraid that you can't kill me?" The demon ancestor sneered. Qin Feiyong and the inner demons were silent. There was naturally a reason why they did not use the kill word technique and the battle word technique. It was because they could faintly feel that the strength that the demon ancestor had revealed was not his real strength. In other words, the demon ancestor had other trump cards hidden. Before they knew the demon ancestor's real strength, they did not dare to use these two trump cards. Boring. Really boring. A battle like this does not interest me at all. Hurry up and use the kill word technique and the battle word technique. Let me see your real strength." The demon ancestor laughed. "You are not qualified." The inner demon said, "The soul of life is at the cost of one's lifespan. I want to see how much lifespan you have to use." Qin Feiyong also smiled coldly. The two of them used the attainment word technique again and charged towards the demon ancestor at lightning speed. "You are really stubborn. Since that is the case, I will force you to use your strongest trump card. Demon King Body, activate. The demon ancestor roared. Boom. His aura suddenly soared. Qin Feiyang and the inner demons were shocked. Not only did the demon ancestor's aura soar, but 2 black horns also grew out of his head. It was as if they were cast from divine iron and had a hard texture. At the same time, the clothes on the ancestral fiend's back were also torn to shreds. 2 pitch-black wings appeared. Boom. With the appearance of the horns and wings, the demon ancestor's cultivation level soared to the greater success war god stage. What is going on? Qin Feiyang and the inner demons were shocked. Black horns, black wings. At that moment, the demonic ancestor was like a demon. His entire body was emitting a frightening demonic aura. The Demon King Body is an assist-type divine art. It can raise one's cultivation level by a small level. And whether it is speed or attack power, it will increase by several times. Facing the current me, do you feel despair? The demon ancestor laughed maniacally. The 2 black wings were like the wings of a bat. As they flapped, gusts of wind shattered the sky. The Demon King Body, Heavenly Observation Technique, Soul of Life, Eye of Despair, and the Demon Dragon Art that surpasses the perfect battle art. How many more terrifying techniques does this guy have? The inner demons were shocked to the extreme. It seems that we have underestimated him all this time. How can someone who can force the ancestor, Mu Tianyang, and Mu Tianjun to join forces only have a few tricks up his sleeve? Qin Feiyang sighed. It is not too late to realize it now. However, once the Demon King Body is activated, no matter what trump cards you have, you will only be destroyed. The demon ancestor laughed. The 2 black horns on his head suddenly emitted wisps of black light. Previous loading next chapters. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.